What's happening, everybody? Appreciate you guys checking in. We in here on a Saturday. Thought I'd jump on, pop up and chop it up with you guys. Obviously, we've had quite a bit of news already pop in. You got Max Crosby being shut down, at least against the Giants. At least that's what Pete Carroll is claiming it is. But then you also got Brock Bowers, Jeremy Chin getting shut down. We got the Giants. It's going to be a battle for that number one seed. I understand there's a small portion of the nation that still wants us to continue to win and win out. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But we could talk about that. We're definitely going to talk about just what this game means upcoming. How does Brock Bowers being shut down, Max Crosby being shut down, just kind of how does that kind of affect our chances going into this Sunday or tomorrow, basically. But at the same time, I want to kind of give you some updates as to what's going down today as well as tomorrow, because obviously we only have two home games left. Two more games. Both of them are home games. Tomorrow going against the Giants at Allegiant. The following week we go against Kansas City. That's a home game as well at Allegiant. And there's something that I'm definitely going to try to do for the members of the channel. So I definitely wanted to start off by just letting you guys know what's going down today and tomorrow. It's going to be a full schedule tomorrow, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. So obviously, I'm hitting you guys on live today. We're going to talk about Max Crosby, talk about Brock Bowers, and then I'm just going to open it up. Whatever questions you guys have, any feedback that you guys have, I definitely want to chop it up with you guys. I can't do lives very often, but I told you guys basically starting early last week. I basically took 2 weeks off of work through the holiday, stuff like that. Family's coming into town. And I want to take an opportunity. Come on here and just do some solo lives. Talk to you guys one-on-one. I'm usually rocking out in the Raider War Room with Severe as well as Chris, Protect the Show podcast. But rarely do I get opportunities to kind of go one-on-one and chop it up with you guys. And as y'all know, if you guys do have questions or something that you guys want to kind of throw at me with some feedback, I can talk quite a bit about our Raiders. And so definitely want to rock out and chop it up with y'all. So we're going to do that. But let's start out. Today, obviously, we're going to talk about the recent news. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do a pregame kind of live breakdown of the Giants matchup. So there's definitely some topics I want to talk about tomorrow morning. That's going to be 8:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern. I go live just a couple blocks away from Allegiant Stadium. There's a little bit of a bar. I go get myself a little bit of a pitcher, post up, go live, and chop it up with you guys. After that is completed, I'm going to walk over to Allegiant, and for members only, I'm going to do a live. I'm going to do a members only live. We're going to go live, and I'm going to walk around J lot, B lot. There's a lot of people that post up in B lot, but also there's the Modelo zone. I'm going to kind of walk through there, and so just kind of give you guys an opportunity to see it firsthand. And if that works out well, again, I'm going to try to make sure that the connection's good. I'm going to bring a hotspot just in case. Obviously, a lot of people are streaming. A lot of people are using devices. And so I just hope it works out. If for some reason the connection is really choppy, then I'm just going to shut it down. I'm going to just record it and then post a members-only video so you guys can kind of definitely check that out. But something that I want to try these next two games, and I go out to every single tailgate. So if it does work out well and the connection's good, then I might do that for every single home game for the members next season. So again, just a little trial, maybe some error, but I'm going to definitely try to work out the kinks, and we're going to try to do that tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do a pregame live tomorrow morning for everybody. But then after that, I'm going to walk over to the tailgate. We're going to do a members only live so you guys can see the tailgate firsthand. So we're doing that, but also for the members, just so you guys know, for the members, we're going to go into the off season. We're going to break down a bunch of game film of the free agents that are upcoming in this year's free agency, as well as the college prospects. And if you are a member, you can throw out suggestions as to who you want us to kind of take a deeper dive, a deeper look into. So throw those suggestions out. Shout out to LS. He's already thrown a couple names, so I got them on the list. But if you are a member, throw them out there. Again, we break down game film, not just to kind of give you my take as well as Chris and Severe. We're all going to do it together, but it's also going to get your guys' take as well, right? I just try to bring the experience that I have of playing and coaching this game, but that also, it doesn't mean that I catch everything. So I definitely want your guys' feedback as well as kind of give your opinions on what you feel about certain plays or just kind of the breakdown that we provide. So again, if you're a member, shout out to the members. It's just our way of just kind of showing our appreciation to the members. If you want us to break down some game film, you definitely have that opportunity to throw out suggestions. So We're going to rock out. We're going to do that. That'll be a members only live tomorrow at the tailgate, and then later that night, 6:30 Eastern or Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, we're going to go ahead and do our post game breakdown of the Giants game. And so, again, big schedule tomorrow. I'm basically going to be going live 3 times tomorrow. Hopefully, you rock out with that. But the very first one is just going to kind of break down our matchup against the Giants. I think, just to kind of give you a little bit of teaser, I think that there are players that are it's their opportunity to shine. Obviously, with Brock Bowers being shut down, Jeremy Chin being shut down, as well as Maxx Crosby, I think that there are players that are still fighting. They're fighting for an opportunity to either be re-signed by this team or definitely put on a highlight reel for any teams that are interested in free agency. And so there's going to be players that need to shine and are going to have that opportunity to do so. We're going to break that thing down tomorrow morning. Pre-game, live 8:30 Pacific time. So tap in for that. We'll break that thing down. But I appreciate everybody kind of rolling in. Again, just kind of a surprise Saturday live. My wife, my kids, they're kind of getting prepared. My father-in-law and my nieces and nephews, they're coming into town, just kind of rock out over the weekend. So before we do that, I'm going to jump on here and have my first drink with you guys on this Saturday. Appreciate everybody. Rocking up in here, we got Raider News Central. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping in here. Robert Pena, always rocking. Appreciate you, man. Just draft, baby. And you guys know, we do mock drafts. We'll do at least 3. We don't try to flood it too much with mock drafts, but at the same time, we have some fun too. We do a start 'em, bench 'em, cut 'em. We also do a blind ranking as well. You guys that have rocked with us, you know how we do it. It's fun. But I think there's another one. There's another one that I'm going to throw in there, and we'll have a little bit of fun during the off season. Again, when there's just some downtime, then we like to have a little bit of fun. Jeff in the building. What's going on, man? Hey, just double tap that screen if you guys can. Double tap that screen. It hits the like button. It definitely helps the algorithm, but at the same time, if you can, throw it out there. You got some Raider fans. Share it if you can. I definitely appreciate it. But shout out to you, Jeff. Appreciate y'all, man. You guys, make sure you guys go over to Jeff's channel because he's also, I tapped in last night for a little bit, but I know, Jeff, you're trying to do something different on Fridays, and I think you're maybe launching it next Friday, where it's not just a Raider-based live or show. It's more encompassing just all the NFL. A lot of fan bases. Everybody can kind of go in there and talk about some certain topics. So I think you're just for that night, I think you're kind of moving into a different direction a little bit to kind of definitely tap into all of the NFL fan base, and shout out to you for doing it. Hopefully it's a success, man. I'll definitely be tapping in when I can. But, man, yeah, shout out to you. Hopefully you had a great Christmas. Shout out to everybody. Christmas, obviously, just a few days ago. I appreciate hopefully everybody had a good Christmas. Shout out to you guys. Hopefully you had families and friends to kind of share it with. Hopefully it rocked out. Dave in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking out here. Raider Nation Jason, what's going on? Appreciate you popping in here, guys. Go check out Jason as well. I think he's got his Cover 3 show. I believe you guys go on Tuesdays. Shout out to you, brother. Dave, you're saying just have to swallow your pride and take these next 2 L's and secure that number 1 pick. We'll talk about it after we kind of talk about Maxx Crosby and Brock Bowers at the tail end. We're going to kind of open this thing up for just some questions. Again, I don't have many opportunity to jump on here as a solo live, but when I can, I jump on here. If you guys got questions, anything like that, hit that sub button. One thing I do for all the subscribers is I do a sub-only chat just to show my appreciation to the subscribers. Also, if you guys don't know, once I do hit 5,500 subs, I'm going to do a giveaway on this channel. It'll be, again, my 15th giveaway. I think 15th giveaway since starting this channel. And so once I hit 5,500, I'll do a live. We'll do a giveaway. We'll have a little bit of fun. And so I think I'm about 11 away from 5,500. Hit that sub button if you want to get included. Appreciate y'all. J-Ro in the building as well. What's going on, man? Raider Ryan, what's happening? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you popping in here. PDL in the build, man. Hopefully you can tap in tomorrow, even if you can't. 10:30 Pacific time, I'm going live at the tailgate. Even if you can't tap in, it's going to drop as a video, as a member-only video, so you'll definitely be able to rock out with that. You're saying Titans and Cardinals win tomorrow would be nice. Yes, it would, man. The farther away they can get from still in that number 1, even the number 2, right? Even if we screw up a little bit, even that number 2, we need to get there. The farther away those teams can get from tapping into those spots, the better. PDL, Braden Smith would be 1. All right, good deal. Let me do this. I already got a list going. I'm going to kind of write that down as a potential suggestion. So I got you, man. Appreciate you. Remember, guys, if you guys are a member, you can throw out suggestions. Again, I don't know how many suggestions are going to throw out there. It's going to be really difficult to break down game film, just to kind of give you an insight of what it's going to take to really break down game film the way that I like to do it. When we break down game film of the previous game for our Raiders, that's easy, right? It's one game film. You kind of go through it. What I'm going to have to do for some of these college prospects and free agent prospects, I'm going to have to look at a lot of games. The way that I like to break down game film is I like to watch at least 7 games of their previous season. I like to watch a couple in the beginning, and then I like to watch, probably 3 or 4 at the tail end of the season, because I like to see where they started and kind of where they finished. How did they progress? How did they improve? Did things fall off? I also like to talk. I like to focus on some of the better competition that they played, right? Obviously, in college, you get a lot of teams that, there's a lot of lopsided wins against a lot of teams. And so it's going to take a lot of me kind of going through and breaking down all those games for that one player. And so I may not be able to get to everybody, but at the same time, just throw suggestions out. I'll definitely pick one from each member. But if I get flooded with suggestions, I'm going to do my best to kind of to kind of navigate that, if that makes sense. And so, again, the way I break down game film is just not watching one game. It's trying to go through at least 7 games and really get an idea of who that person is and who that player is. Look at their strengths and weaknesses. Was there a weakness in the beginning of the season, and did they progress and turn that into a strength, or did they just improve on it? Definitely things I tap into. So it's going to take a lot of work. But I definitely want to do it. At least give the members the opportunity to throw out suggestions. I definitely want to throw it out there. But PDL, I got that one, man. Jason Downs in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Also, guys, tap in with Jason. I think your show's on Tuesday. You and Donuts Duncan, I believe. Definitely tap in with those guys. They do a show on Tuesdays, man. It's gonna be right. And I am you're watching a pro. Maybe there's pros in that canvas behind me. I'm just I'm an intermediate right now. I'm trying to reach pro status levis, like some of you guys in the chat. Yeah, man, Jeff. I know you East Coast, man, so you should be up and ready for that one, man. It's gonna be awesome. And when I do go live at the tailgate, those suggestions out there, if you guys want me to go in certain directions or certain areas, because J-Lot's going to be popping. TNBC, TNBC, I think it's the Nation's Booster Club, I think they're called. They're doing something big tomorrow in J-Lot. So it's going to be really cool to kind of see that. Sometimes J-Lot Tacos, they go, they're rocking out. And sometimes you get some of the bigger content creators like Simone's over there. Mr. Fitz is over there, stuff like that. And so you might be able to kind of see them, but I'm definitely going to go over to B-Lot as well as the Modelo Zone, kind of walk around there. You guys can check it out. So hopefully you guys appreciate it, but then definitely get in that comment section because I'll be shouting at everybody. Dominic, what's going on, man? Appreciate you. I'm not bueno in the building. Appreciate you, man. Hopefully you heard about what's going on for members. Tomorrow it's going to be fun. Dominic, Max is not a true leader. He should be there for his teammates regardless. I got a bunch of notes on that, man, and I'm going to tap into that in just a second, but I appreciate you kind of mentioning that because that's kind of goes in the direction of what I want to talk about. So appreciate y'all rocking out. Tommy Max is the diva. Let's see. Boy George in the building. Albuquerque in the house. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you rocking in here. Let's see. Slam and Samuel. What's going on, man? Things is I don't know if the team is ready for a franchise quarterback yet, but we can always try to fill holes with free agency. Only one thing to keep in mind. And stick around at the tail end. There's not a whole lot to talk about Brock and Max, but I'm going to talk about those two subjects at the tail end. Definitely, I want to open it up. Q&A. I'll probably be on here for about 2 hours, chop it up with you guys. But just one thing to keep in mind, right? If you want a franchise quarterback, if Pete Carroll's the coach, there's a direction I want to go. If we go young, offensive-minded head coach, even if it's a defensive-minded head coach, right? Even if it's a young, just head coach in general, a guy that they wanted, I think it's time to start the process. Start the process of moving this thing in the right direction. And so even if you get a franchise quarterback this year, and look, Maybe there's not a whole lot of people that are high on all these quarterbacks or think one of these quarterbacks are worth a number one draft pick. You can start the process of building around a franchise quarterback. You could pick one at number one and then take this free agency and offseason and draft, build, and then sit that quarterback 1 year. And then next offseason, take that free agency and draft and build. And then now you've at least created a strong foundation. Maybe not all the pieces are in place, but a strong enough foundation by hopefully maybe year 2 of that franchise quarterback that now he's ready, and now you've built that foundation. You kind of look at what the Bears did, right? The Bears did kind of something similar. They took the quarterback, they built that offensive line year 2, and now you kind of see what they're doing a little bit. And so don't be too discouraged if we pick a quarterback, but there's a lot that I need to know prior to the direction that I would like us to go in. And a lot of that has to do with who's our next head coach going into the next season. Is it Pete? Or is it an offensive-minded or young head coach? That'll dictate the direction I want to go. Dave said number 2 should be worst-case scenario. Maybe, man. Raider Hater, what's going on, man? As far as I'm concerned, the third-string water boy, as long as I'm concerned, the third-string water boy in play quarterback. All right, I think you're just basically saying, put the third string quarterback in. I'm with you. Look, I think there's really no secret of what's going on. We're going to tap into it. And it's not just us. You're seeing the rest of the league really starting to kind of now shut players down if they're just not in the running. You're seeing the Giants doing it. You're seeing the Chiefs do it. Stuff like that. Boy, no, Raider, our water boy can probably make throws better than Gino. I'm telling you. It's going to be it's going to be interesting tomorrow, and I'll tap in, man. It's going to be fun to talk about it. Gino Joe in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking with me as well. It's good seeing everybody in the building. I'll say what's up to everybody. GeoMax, what's going on? Malik Willis is a guy I would like to see on the Raiders. Again, a lot of that has to do with, in my opinion, because Aiden O'Connell's still going to be on this roster. Right? There's one more year on his rookie contract. He's going to be on this roster. Then you got a third stringer, or you got another quarterback position. You're really probably going to hold 3 quarterbacks. If we get a franchise quarterback, if we pick a quarterback, number 1 or number 2 in this draft, or maybe you trade back just a couple spots and you still pick a quarterback in the top 5. I've said this multiple times, and you guys agree or disagree with me. You're going to have Aiden O'Connell. If you pick a top tier or a franchise quarterback in the top 5 of this year's draft, I want to save that third quarterback spot for a veteran quarterback that's going to have the ability to teach these young guys. That's what I want to invest some money in, and if you just look at the free agent quarterbacks that are available right now, I feel like Marcus Mariota might be the best guy. Because Marcus Mariota, the problem with Malik Willis or a young quarterback, like even if it's Kenny Pickett, like let's say you plan to bring back Kenny Pickett for some reason. Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, and again, I'm just using these guys as an example, they're younger quarterbacks. They're still going to want to be a starting quarterback. They still think they have what it takes to be a quarterback. They're young enough that they're going to still fight for that starting position. So they won't really understand the role that they should play for this quarterback. You hear the story of Johnny Manziel and what was his name, Hoyer, where Johnny Manziel basically said Hoyer basically made his rookie season absolute crap because Hoyer still probably was thinking that he could be a starting quarterback, or he thought that he was going to be the starting quarterback or given that opportunity. And he basically made Johnny Manziel look like shit in the quarterback room, right? Johnny Manziel said the story that he would ask a question and Hoyer would basically undermine him at every step. I can see a young quarterback coming in and trying to do that to a rookie or even like an Aiden O'Connell and not understanding his role, that you need to build the next quarterback. You need to help teach the next quarterback. And if you go in the game, understand your role. Minimize the turnovers and try to keep us in a game. Don't force it because of Malik Willis or even like a Kenny Pickett or a young quarterback that's still fighting, they're going to take their chances thinking that they need to do that in order to possibly solidify a starting position. When in actuality, you're a stopgap quarterback. You're just trying to teach the next guy. And so you only have 3 spots. You only have 3 positions on the starting roster for quarterbacks. Aiden O'Connell, I think, is young enough to where he still needs to learn, and bringing a veteran will help him. But then if you draft a young guy, you need someone in there to teach him. Aiden O'Connell's still young. Aiden O'Connell's still learning. He's not going to teach the guy. Aiden O'Connell's still going to be battling to start in the National Football League. He's going to want to potentially be a starter somewhere. Bring in a young guy, or bring in a veteran that understands his role. So that's why I would use that 3rd quarterback position for a veteran to teach somebody. Now, if we don't draft a young guy and you just want to bring in if we don't draft a young rookie early on and you need somebody, to take a shot on, then maybe you can do that, right? But even if we don't draft a quarterback in the 1st round or 2nd round, I still would want to see us draft a quarterback at least within, I'd say, the first 3 rounds. At the latest, the 4th round. Because you still need to bring somebody in to continue that developmental process. Take a stab at somebody. I make the example with Shedeur Sanders. I did not like him at 6. I didn't like him maybe around the 3rd. I had a 3rd round grade on him, and I said in the 3rd round, that's when you pull the trigger. That's in the 4th round. That's when you pull the trigger. You do it because at least you bring somebody in to start the developmental process. If you draft somebody in the 4th round, a quarterback, no one's going to judge the GM if that 4th round quarterback didn't work out. No one judges the GM if a 4th round pick doesn't work out. It's really the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds is where you're kind of evaluated. And so no matter what, you got to pull the trigger. I say pull a trigger on a quarterback no matter what within the first 3 rounds, latest 4. But even with that, you want to still bring in somebody that's going to help develop that young quarterback. And we don't have a quarterback room. Now, Geno, he might still be here. I'm not a fan of Geno being here. I think you need to bring another veteran. As much as I think Geno, obviously he knows the game, and he potentially could be a good teacher because of experience. But the antics that he's had up to this point, I just don't know how good of a locker room guy he really is. That's the problem that I have with Geno right now. If we move on from Pete, then move on from Geno. There's already reports that the Raiders are trying to trade Geno instead of releasing him at the end of the season. And so we might move on from him. But for me, I don't think Geno is a good teacher of the game to younger guys. I don't think he's going to be that guy, and he's not going to fit that role well. So that's my issues with Geno. And again, we got to talk about it because Geno is more than likely going to be on this roster if Pete's still here. Sorry, that was long-winded. Again, guys, I apologize. I'm going to try to get to as much as I can, but you throw a question or topic out there, there's a lot that I can talk about just because I see it in a different light. Again, playing this game for a long time, coaching it for 23 years, I kind of look at it in a different light that maybe some people may not grasp onto, and it's no fault of their own. I'm not knocking anybody. It's just that the coaching aspect of it, I've dedicated so much of my life to it that there's a lot that I can kind of touch on, a lot that just kind of comes to mind that I try to process, and a lot of different angles that I try to go with it. So again, let me know if you agree or disagree. Yeah. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you rocking in here with me. Gotham City in the building as well. Appreciate you rocking up in here, man. It's good to see you. Raider hitter, if you have the first pick in the draft, you take that quarterback. There's other teams coveting Mendoza. We'll talk about that a little bit later. A lot has to do with, again, for me, it's about who's going to be the next head coach. And so I'm going to leave it there. We're definitely going to talk about that a little bit later, man. I'm going to star that. I'm going to try to go back to it. But I appreciate you. Definitely hit me back with those questions when you tap into just the questions afterwards. Body Snatcher, man, haven't seen you in a moment. Appreciate you rocking in here. Tanking never works. Works out, the pick will be a bust. I don't know if you can just definitively say the pick is going to be a bust, right? And look, I've never been a tank type of guy, but the reason why you have to get that number 1 is because I think it's the only way you can be somewhat of an enticing location for a good head coach, if that's the route we go. If we want to get a next head coach in here, you look at The Giants and the Titans have a much better foundation to work with than we do. There's so much that just doesn't make this head coaching job enticing or attractive at all. That number one draft pick is our only real chance of getting a decent top tier head coach in here, in my opinion. Because if you have like the number 7, they're going to go to the Giants. They're going to go to the Titans. I mean, if you are the top, like if it's a Ben Johnson situation again, where you want your number one guy, why would you come here? If you have a number 7 pick, our quarterback room is not good at all. We have so many needs that need to be addressed. And we have I think around 26 players that need to be addressed contract wise. They're either on the last year of their contract or they're on 1-year contracts. Like, you're going to have your handful. This is not an enticing situation to be in. Also, good luck getting top tier free agents in here. Unless they're just about money, maybe you can get them in here. You're going to overpay like crazy, but we don't have a home field advantage ever again until we switch this thing around. So it's just not a very enticing location. I think the number 1 draft pick is what is going to allow somebody to look at us and consider us moving forward. And again, I'm not saying that even is going to move the needle. So I think that's why you have to get it. You have to get it if you want to move on from Pete and get the top tier guy in here. GeoMax Raiders need to consider the offensive coordinator that wins the Super Bowl. That would be my first option. He would be one who knows best. We'll see just kind of how it works out. I got my opinion on who I want as the next head coach, young offensive-minded head coach. But we can talk about that a little bit later. Dominic, we need a completely new quarterback room. Yeah, we need to revamp some stuff. I don't think it needs to be completely new, right? Aiden O'Connell, I think, still can be a good competitive piece in there. But I think we do need to find a quarterback, at least a veteran, or draft somebody early. But yes, we definitely need to move some things around. Let's see. Yeah. He said, yeah, bro, I'm thinking in terms of mentorship, but Tom Brady is in the house. He is. But just remember, I think Tom Brady, and again, I might be talking about something different, but Tom Brady, he's not in that quarterback room, right? He's not on the sideline kind of talking with the younger guys. And so that is massive. That's what's so great about a good veteran backup quarterback is that veteran backup quarterbacks, like a Jameis Winston, right? Jameis Winston might be a turnover machine, but he's also a touchdown machine, right? I mean, he could have 40 touchdowns and 40 interceptions, but he understands the game so well that he could be that second coach on the sideline for that quarterback, right? He can look at the game and understand what the defenses are trying to do, how they're disguising coverages, how they're moving coverages around, right? In certain situations when they're bringing pressure, he can now be that coach on the sideline and in that quarterback room to be able to teach the younger guys, right? And again, as much as Aiden O'Connell has struggled, and I think a lot has to do with just the flip over of regimes, the flip over of the constant revolving door of offensive coordinators, no quarterback can work well with that. But it also helps Aiden O'Connell. And if Aiden O'Connell can show improvement, that's just competition for any young quarterback that you bring in, and you want competition. So that's why I really lean, bring in a veteran that knows their role and understands how to build and communicate with these younger quarterbacks to develop them. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady is definitely in the building. Without question, he's obviously going to be a mentor and definitely help out. I don't disagree with that, but I definitely would love to see a veteran in here if we go younger quarterback. Let's see. Just want to make sure I'm saying what's up to everybody. We're going to get into the topics. We're already 30 minutes in. I'm not even at the topics yet. I just want to say what's up. Appreciate everybody. Do me a favor. Double tap that screen. Hit that like button. I definitely appreciate it. I'm popping in on a Saturday random. Just wanted to chop it up with y'all. PDL, if more comes out, he would be my choice. All right, man. I'm doing a more deeper dive on quarterbacks. We're definitely going to break down Mendoza, Moore, maybe some of the later round quarterbacks in the offseason. So I'm going to be doing a deeper dive, 100% with the quarterbacks. I know a lot of people want to talk about it. Bueno, I hope we can get Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. I will tell you right now, I've been in, and I've been a linebacker the majority of my life, all the way up through high school. Then afterwards, I had to switch over to safety because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. But um, that Jacob Rodriguez, he looks like an absolute beast. I've been watching his game more and more. And we have a need. I'm going to tell you right now, and I've been saying this when we do film breakdown on Wednesdays, right? When we do film breakdown, we do it because we also want to see who do we want to prioritize. Guys on the last year of their contracts, guys, ending their contracts. Are there certain players you want to bring in that can kind of help um, fill a need and be serviceable this year so you don't go into free agency and the draft with so many position needs, right? I think a Landon Roberts is one of them. I think Landon Roberts has proven to be a good locker room guy, a good leader. The amount of times I've showcased where he communicates on that defensive side, you could tell he's a true leader on the field. I'd love to see we'd bring him back. I know as much as Devin White has just been a tackling machine, I think he's a liability in pass coverage. So if we move on from him, that's understandable. You bring in Jacob Rodriguez, and he's going to be a first round guy. So that means you trade back and stuff like that. But you bring in Jacob Rodriguez, I think a guy that could be a tackling machine just like Devin White, but then be much better in pass coverage, and you match him up next to Landon Roberts, I think that could be nasty. My favorite linebacker last year, and I wanted to target a linebacker kind of starting the second round, depending on how the draft fell. But my favorite linebacker last year was Carson Schlesinger. And I said that very early on. I think Jacob Rodriguez is better than Carson Schlesinger. And so, I believe Carson Schlesinger is kind of in the running for defensive rookie of the year. But Jacob Rodriguez, the more and more I watch his film, it's not just the fact that he's just a tackling machine, right? He's instinctive. He plays downhill. I love his ability to go after the football. I mean, he not only makes tackles, but he's punching at the ball every single time. And he's causing turnovers at that. And he seems to be really good in pass coverage. I'm telling you, if kind of the way that it plays out, if we ended up trading back for any reason, depending on just kind of how they play the first round, I'm all about Jacob Rodriguez if we do fall back quite a bit. I think he's a monster. PDL, we have nothing better to do. Air it out. I think you might be talking about this Sunday, maybe. J-Ro, I believe our next backup quarterback will depend on who our next head coach is. Yeah, maybe. I'm with you. I agree. You want to be able to bring in a head coach that they're going to have a certain offensive style, offensive strategy. And so a lot is going to be determined like that, without question. That's why I say before I can even look at the draft, before I can even look at free agents, I got to know who our offensive coordinator is. We have to prioritize the offensive line. But the question is, before I start really looking at who those offensive line players are going to be or who I want to target, I got to know who the offensive coordinator is and what their run scheme is going to be. Are they more zone based? Are they more power run based? What is it? You know what I'm saying? So that's why for me, a lot is going to determine who we get as a head coach moving forward. And even if it is Pete Carroll, that still remains to be seen. Who's Pete Carroll going to bring in as the offensive coordinator? Who's he going to bring in as the defensive coordinator? Because I think Patrick Graham's gone. There's no reason why Patrick Graham stays here with the reports that they wanted Robert Saleh, and just with the turnover Patrick Graham has had to deal with, I think he moves on. So there's going to be a lot to talk about in this offseason. It's going to be crazy. Right here, that's why Ben Johnson went to the Bears. They had the quarterback. We didn't even, though he interviewed with us. I think it was a sympathy interview, and I 100% agree. 100% agree. They had the quarterback. They had the structure. And it really was only the quarterback and the higher draft pick, given the fact that the Bears organization, the Bears front office is just as, prior to the Ben Johnson pickup, it was just as dysfunctional as ours. You could have easily said the Bears organization is as bad as ours. But he chose it because they had the quarterback and they had a top draft pick. That's why I'm saying I don't think that we are a very attractive location at all for a head coach because the Giants have a good quarterback, a young quarterback you could build on. They're going to have a top draft pick. Then you have the Titans, Cam Ward. If you like any of those quarterbacks, they're going to have the Titans are going to have a top pick as well. It's just a more attractive situation. So that's why I think for me, like we need that number one to even have a chance at bringing in a guy that we want. So, and I 100% agree with you. We rolled out the red carpet for Ben Johnson, and he gave us a sympathy interview because of Tom Brady, and he bounced right quick and took himself to the Bears organization. Rebel, what's going on, brother? Said, Tank, it's hilarious. We're acting like this team is good enough to have to try to lose without Brock and Crosby and Jeremy Chin. Yeah, man, I don't think they have to, right? A lot of these players, they're still playing. They're still playing for contracts. They're still playing. They're trying to put a highlight film out there, right? But, look, all the other teams, they are making their own moves. Giants, they're sitting players. Not as many players as, as let's say like the Chiefs. So the Chiefs, they're sitting players. So it's going to be very interesting just kind of how this thing plays out. But hey, if they want to start Cam Miller tomorrow, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But you're right. Shout out to you, brother. Hey, make sure you guys go hit up Rebels channel as well, man. Always going live, man. Shout out to you. Coach John in the building. What's going on, man? You know what never works? Losing for most of the season, then winning meaningless games the last 2 weeks of the season. Put your draft position at 7 or 8. Yep, I agree. And as a fan, you can say that, right? As a coach, as a player, you can never say that. You can never really want that. You want to go out there and you want to win, right? But as a fan, we can see it in a different light because we're just fans. And we want to see what's best for this organization. Now, again, I would not be surprised if we see an absolute battle because you have so many players, again, on 1-year contracts or the last year of their contract. They're still trying to put highlight film together. They're still trying to battle for that next contract. So there's going to be fight. There's going to be fight. And a lot of people are saying, like last week. A lot of people are saying last week, this team's still fighting for Pete. It's a combination of they're fighting for their next contract. And I think it was a trap game for Houston. I think Houston completely overlooked us. And CJ Stroud in that offense, look, Woody Marks wasn't playing, their best running back, right? That, I think, hurt them. But CJ Stroud looked very inaccurate. He gave us so many opportunities to capitalize and a lot of really bad timing penalties were thrown on us. And so I think Houston just overlooked us. And so I think it was more about that than the team wanting to fight for Pete. I know some people have been talking about that. I don't think that's the case at all. I think this team is still fighting for their next contract. So we'll kind of see. We'll see how it kind of works out. Let's see. Ellis in the building. What's going on, brother? We don't get pick one. I've never been sure of anything in my life. And man, I hope we got the number one pick. I am hoping for it. And to our luck, yeah, it most likely won't happen. To our luck. But let's just keep hoping for it, man. Let's do this. I'm close to 5,500 subscribers. I'm going to drop a giveaway. All right. If I hit that, don't know how long it's going to take me to get there. But if we get that number one, again, look, I like to surprise you guys with some giveaways as well. So if you want to get included in the giveaways, hit that sub button. I surprised you guys a few weeks ago with hitting that parlay, had some fun. If we get that number one draft pick, I'm doing a giveaway. In addition to getting to 5,500 subscribers, if we get that number one draft pick, I'm doing a giveaway. You're hearing it right now. So hit that sub button if you want to get included. I'm going to do a giveaway. Again, just my way of showing my appreciation to everybody that's rocked with me and supported me. At this point, I just try to give back. You know what I'm saying? And so if we get that number one, we're doing a giveaway. It's going to be fun. But LS, man, I appreciate you popping in here. I'm not sure if you heard earlier, LS, I'm going live tomorrow, 10:30 Pacific time. We're going live, members only, in at the tailgate. We're going to have some fun. I'll try to be on for at least an hour, because they shut things down. Everybody in the tailgate have to shut stuff down before the game starts, and they have to clear the parking lot of all their gear. So I'll be live for about an hour. So it's going to be fun, man. I appreciate you being a member and appreciate you always supporting. God, I haven't even gotten to the topics yet. Troy Gill, I believe that old man Pete's coming back because no one wants to come here and coach. And if we get first pick in the draft, I think Spytek will trade down and get multiple picks for CJ Carr. Tom Brady's in his ear, so you never know. You never know how it's going to work out, man. I'm with you. Man. PDL, I don't think number one is in the cards either. Maybe not, unless I wish I had your confidence, coach. I know with John in the building. Let's see, Dave Rams, OC LaFleur if you want a young option. Okay, at the very end, all right, I like Clint Kubiak. I don't want to get into it, but I'll just give you a real quick reason why I lean Clint Kubiak. Mike LaFleur has a lot of experience. I like his experience. I like his pathway through the NFL. That's what I look for. I look for a lot of experience in the NFL. I want them to be well-versed into what good front offices look like, how you put things together, right? Mike LaFleur has great experience. And he was under Shanahan and McVay, which is great. I like Clint Kubiak because both him and Mike LaFleur have very, very similar experiences. The amount of time that they've been in the NFL as assistants in some capacity. Clint Kubiak was under Shanahan as a passing game coordinator. The reason why I lean Clint Kubiak is because you hope that Mike LaFleur can replicate what Sean McVay is doing as an offensive play caller. Mike LaFleur is the OC as a title, but he's not the offensive play caller. So you hope that he could replicate that. We know Clint Kubiak is calling plays over there in Seattle, and he's doing a damn good job of continuing Sam Bradford's success over there. He's continuing his success. But at the same time, he's making Jackson Smith-Njigba look like a number one receiver. Right? He is the number one, and he's making him look like it. Imagine what he could do with Brock Bowers. Imagine if we get another, like we draft a true number one receiver. Imagine what he could do with that. We know Clint Kubiak is calling those plays. We know that's what he's capable of. And so that's why I lean Clint Kubiak. It's like Ben Johnson. We knew Ben Johnson was orchestrating and organizing that offense over with the Lions. So there's no question what he was going to be able to replicate, potentially, right? And so that's why I lean Clint Kubiak. I love the experience of both of them, but that's why I lean Clint Kubiak. Edgar, man, appreciate you. I did give my thoughts on Malik Willis. I think he's a young quarterback that has promise. But it's so hard to evaluate him because it's just the limited play that he's had in the NFL. It's so hard to truly evaluate him. And so I think he's got promise. Don't get me wrong, but again, I don't want to go that route with a young quarterback that's been in this league for a while. I want to draft young, but also I want to bring in a veteran to teach him. Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm with you. I just want to throw that out there. But I get what you're saying. I just want to throw that out there just with Tom Brady. All right, man. What up, Dre? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping in here. I want to make sure I say what's up. Just many people. Again, I can't go live very often. But I definitely want to say what's up to everybody. I see you in the building. And you guys who want to lose going to the game tomorrow, of course not. Look, even when if I'm going to look at tickets. I may not go to the game. I'm probably going to go to the KC game, but I'm not going to go to this game. And even if I went to the game, I'm telling you, I want them to lose to get that number one. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just me. Because I want that number one. Boy George saying I've always liked Malik Willis, but I think if I makes a good point. He may still be a little too hungry to mentor a quarterback. Yeah, and that's the only problem with younger quarterbacks, man. So appreciate you at least agreeing. But yeah, if anybody kind of disagrees, just throw it out there. Let me know. I definitely will process it. And Dre, we need to get Jacobs, man. I'm telling you, that Jacobs kid, Rodriguez at Texas Tech, the more and more I watch him, he looks like he could be just a really natural linebacker in the NFL. Again, I love Carson Schwarzenegger. That's kind of worked out for the Browns, but we'll see. Money check in the building. What's going on, brother? Every year, some backup quarterback comes in, does a somewhat decent job, and people all of a sudden want them on the team. Folks, Malik Willis isn't it or isn't shit. Yeah, all right, everybody. Let Money Chuck look. For me, it's like it's so hard to evaluate a backup quarterback like that. Yeah, you could take him for what it's worth in college, and I know he was highly respected coming out of college. Everybody liked him coming out of college. I don't want to say everybody. He was just highly touted coming out of college, but with just not enough evaluation in the pros. I can't give you a definitive answer on my part. Money Chuck's not a fan of him, and so you guys can kind of go back and forth on that. Megalodon, what's going on, man? You think we can lure Cliff Kingsbury to be the head coach? I don't know. I don't know. I just if it's for Cliff Kingsbury, there's guys that I would get before Cliff Kingsbury, right? Because there's a lot of reports coming out of Arizona that some of the antics that he has maybe he wasn't fully in to that head coaching position. Again, some guys are just good offensive coordinators, not good head coaches. He might be one of them. I say that loosely because I don't know for sure. I just know that some people talked about him as a head coach where he wasn't all in as a true head coach. He was kind of more all in on just like the lifestyle of that head coach, like in the notoriety of having that title. And so, but because it didn't work out with Arizona, I'm all for with allowing guys to have a second chance. But my thing with second chance head coaches, I want them to be far enough removed, maybe about 3 years from that previous head coaching position so that they have time to learn, right? You failed for some reason that first stint. So I want you to be able to kind of take a couple years, I'd like 3, but 2 or 3 years to kind of learn from your mistakes. Try to understand what did you do wrong? How do you change? How do other organizations kind of address some of the issues that you might have had or seen? And so that's why I'd like to see a second-year head coach just be far enough removed where you've been able to kind of learn from your mistakes. And it's a constant learning experience with coaching, right? I coached it for 23 years, and even though I stopped coaching in 2019, right? I still learned every single year, and I'm still learning to this day. Still, without question, I'm learning to this day. I learned from the chat, I learned from you guys, but I'm always studying and trying to do better. I'm always trying to research other people breaking down certain plays and run schemes and stuff. And I try to keep up on terminology, right? I've been removed now since 2019 of coaching. So I got to keep up with the terminology on what people are using in the schemes that they're trying to evolve to. And so, but I say all that with Cliff Kingsbury, I'd like to see a second-year head coach just be a little more far removed from that first stint so he has time to learn. And so that's why I'd probably go in a different direction. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate y'all. Boy, George, am I crazy? Greg Olson scheme looked pretty good last week. Should we cut Greg Olson as an offense coordinator next year? Okay, so look, that's nothing about Pete Carroll. If you keep Pete Carroll, he's going to have to find an offensive coordinator. It might be Greg Olson because he's already on the staff. Good luck getting a good offensive coordinator with Pete Carroll if we hang on to him. That's one of my biggest issues with keeping Pete Carroll. But did his offense look a little bit better last week? Look, I'm seeing better passing schemes. I showcased one last week that I haven't seen with Chip Kelly, right? And so again, I don't know if that's part of Chip Kelly's playbook, and it wasn't called or he didn't utilize it in the game, but there was definitely a route combination last week, as well as I believe it was against the Eagles. I believe a good route combination that I saw that I didn't see all season, right? And so definitely, so I'm seeing a little bit better, but I'm not a big Greg Olson fan. I think there's a reason why Greg Olson really hasn't been successful as an offensive coordinator in the league. He's had better success as a quarterbacks coach, but I would not want to see him back. But don't be surprised if we hang on to Pete Carroll. He might be back only because there's nobody else that's going to want to be a coordinator over here with Pete Carroll. I just don't see it. But there's going to be other job openings, around the league, and so we'll see just kind of where everybody ends up. LS, man, appreciate you throwing a super chat. 805 loves 3 things: black shirts, yes, Jack and Coke. That's what I'm drinking today. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. And football players named Jacob. Shout out to you, LS, because look, you called me out. And yes, Jacob Parrish, I want him in the third round. That's kind of where I'm targeting. And LS corrected me because I thought I took Jacob Parrish in the third round in our mock draft last year. And look, we need a slot corner. Todd Bowles has done nothing but praise that kid with the Bucks. He could have been a starter, for sure starter with us this year. But I thought I picked him in the second, but I went back and I looked LS. And the only reason why I got him in the second was because that third mock draft was the only one I had a decent trade back situation. And he was my third pick in the second round, I believe. And so he was my fourth pick of that draft, even though it was in the second. And it was my fourth pick. So I wanted to take a shot at him early, knowing that he was probably going to get picked in the third, but it was my fourth pick. So I was willing to just pull the trigger on him in the second because I think the value was there. And I already had three guys off the board on my draft pick. So if I would have only had a first and second, and then we go into the third, I wouldn't have taken a second like that. But because it was my fourth pick of that draft, that's why I pulled the trigger. So I went back and looked because when you said I took him in the second, I said, man, there was no way I could have. But it made sense when I went back and looked. I'm just saying. But yes, Jacob Parrish was one of my players that not a lot of people were talking about at all, but just me searching and breaking down film and just definitely taking a look at some people. Jacob Parrish was on my name, but now Jacob Rodriguez, I'm telling you, man, I think that kid has what it takes to play at the second level. All right, I'm sorry, at the next level in the NFL. So we'll see. But LS, man, I appreciate you being a member. Appreciate you throwing a super chat out there. They're not fighting for Pete. I know they're not. There's nobody fighting for Pete at this point. Dre, I need to win a giveaway. Definitely tap in with me, man. If we get that number one, when I hit 5,500, I'm going to do a giveaway. If we hit number one, I'll do a second giveaway. And at least for one of those, I'm going to keep Chewy out of the chat. I'm going to keep Chewy out of the chat because he's won back-to-back. And shout out to him. He already said he might step out the next one. And so, Edgar, you're saying if we win one out of the two games, how much do we slide? I think it depends on if we win this week. It depends on what happens. It could change week by week based on how everybody else performs, right? But I've heard that if we lose this week, we might drop to like 4. I'm sorry, if we win this week, we might drop to 4. Don't correct me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't quote me on it. I think that's what they said. And so, but if we win this week and next week, I'm sure we're going to drop to something stupid like 7, and good luck getting anybody in here. And Viet. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. We need this first pick. I'm sick of being in purgatory. I want it. I want that first pick. Money check saying what player can do something in the last 2-3 games to retain their position on this team? I think their fate has been already decided. Maybe, but at the same time, the only reason why I say that is because I think that they're still fighting. All right, they're still fighting, and it's not just to like. I'm going to jump to what I'm going to talk about tomorrow morning, okay? Because and here's a little sneak peek, right? Because Max Crosby's out, now Charles Snowden is going to get 100% of the snaps the next 2 weeks. Because Max Crosby's not going to come back, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Charles Snowden's a guy that if he's going to start the entire game, then that's an opportunity for him to showcase a little bit more. Imagine in the next 2 games if Snowden gets 2, maybe even 3 sacks, getting after that quarterback. That showcases something for an undrafted free agent. He could put something on tape where he might get the next contract. Not saying it's a starting contract. It's just saying he could definitely be signed for somebody that could be a rotation piece. You know what I'm saying? So I do think there are some players that could get substantial playing time that could showcase something for their next contract. So again, that's just my opinion. Edgar, 27 draft loaded with quarterback picks. I know. I think that Sorsby guy is now in the transfer portal. Sorsby's a guy that, look, I got some issues with his accuracy, just the inconsistency with his accuracy. But again, that's a guy that playing one more year, man, he could grow. There's a couple quarterbacks. Yeah, next year's draft might be very interesting. Might be interesting. Yeah, sorry, Sam Darnold. I think I said Bradford for some reason. My bad. Sam Darnold. Clint Kubiak is continuing Sam Darnold's success. So I think it's definitely showing that like what we get with him, I think it's going to be what we see this year. Whereas there's question marks just on how well Mike LaFleur might be able to produce as the true play caller. Those are my only knocks on him. PDL, what could the Raiders get by trading with the Cowboys? They have lots of first round draft picks in next 2 years. Now I know that when you trade draft picks, right? When you swap positions, there's that grading scale, right? There's where you try to move from. There's a point system, and so I have it. I have it up on my computer. I won't bring it up today, but there's a point system. So it's really about just how much it's going to take in order to kind of satisfy that point system with moving around the draft. So I don't know where the Cowboys will sit at the tail end, but it'll be interesting to see just kind of how they move around because they got rid of Michael Parsons and they got it. They got a good little haul for it, and so we'll see just kind of how they move. Gotham, I like Mike McCarthy. He's been a winning coach. We'll talk about head coaches later on. J-Row, who's your favorite quarterback in the draft this year? Oh, Jesus Christ. I like Dante Moore as a project. I got to do more research on these guys, and I am. As soon as the Chiefs game is done, I'm diving in. As soon as the Chiefs game is done, I'm diving into all the college prospects. I'm going to start doing my homework. You know, both I think Mendoza and Dante Moore are projects. But I think Dante Moore might have the higher upside as it relates as to a quarterback that can run, right? Mendoza, a lot of people say that Mendoza can take off. I think Mendoza is not going to be as mobile as people think in the NFL. The NFL is fast. It's quick. I just don't see him being as much of a threat with his legs in the NFL. I think he is, and somebody just put the name out there. I think Mendoza is more like a Sam Bradford. Shout to my guy, LA Raider. He threw it out there. He's more like a Jared Goff type, which I don't argue that. I do think that Mendoza might be like a Jared Goff type. Honestly, you kind of compare the two college films. There's a lot of similarities where I think Dante Moore just has higher upside. If you groom them properly, let them sit for that first season and understand the game. I just like the upside of them. So again, but I have to do more research. I got to do more research, and I'm definitely hit you guys in the off season. After that Chiefs game, I'm diving in. My take. I like your take on the head coaching situation. I appreciate it again, man. It's just my opinion. Guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. You're also saying we need a new defensive coordinator. Yeah, and I think either way, Patrick Graham is gone. I struggle with truly evaluating Patrick Graham at times because I've had a lot of knocks on him, but I just don't think Patrick Graham has been given the full opportunity to really mold the defense the way he wants, the way that you continuously just change head coaches. Head coaches are going to want to put their stamp on the defense as well. Look at what Pete Carroll's doing. He's forcing Patrick Graham to run that cover three, and he's bringing guys in to suit a cover three. The Darian Porter, the Eric Stokes, you ship off Jacorian Bennett, which is a better man type corner. You're molding your defense. You're molding the defense the way you want it, and Patrick Graham just has to work with that. And so, plus, again, I've said it before with the Robert Saleh situation and the reports that they're wanting to bring him in. I think either way, Patrick Graham's gone. So yes, we need to definitely bring in another head coach. All right, I'm sorry, defensive coordinator. Herman Munster, appreciate you popping in here. If you didn't hear before, I'm going live at the tailgate for members only, 10:30 Pacific time. 10:30 Pacific time, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to do at least an hour. Hopefully the connection's good, everything's good. If it doesn't work out connection-wise, I'll drop it as a video, but it'll be a members only, man. Appreciate you rocking up with me. Leland, Giants and Jets are disappointing. They are, and we're disappointing as well. We are. Let's just hope we lose tomorrow and we get that number one. LS, Shane Waldron is number 2 on Pete's speed dial. Probably. You're probably 100% correct on that. Man, it'll be tough. Dre, we need an offensive coordinator can scheme up our best playmakers wide open. And look, that's what Kubiak is doing with JCN. And it's not like they have a ton of weapons over there, right? They don't have just a plethora of weapons. JCN is their number 1 receiver threat. And he's dialing them up very well. And so I would love to see what he could do with Brock Bowers, as well as bringing somebody like a true number 1 receiver. I'd love to see him try to dial that up. So that's why I lean it. I lean that way. Unless I think most of us would take Parrish over Besh in the second round. Ironically, you know me, I would have. I hated the Besh pick. I'll be honest, I did. What up, Sacktown, man? Hey, I heard that you had your hip replacement. I hope the recovery's going well, man. I hope everything is good. I hope you are walking clean when I see you in Bakersfield, man. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you rocking. Jeff, they're fighting for incentives. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Whether they're touchdown incentives, yardage percentage, they are fighting for it. That's definitely one way to look at it. I'm with you on that. Let's see. All right, man. I'm trying to just get through it as much as I can. Coach, you're saying just remember, if you want the Raiders to win, the NFL also wants the Raiders to win, so they can continue to lose forever. I'm with you. And Viet, again, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Jets have more picks. They do. The Jets have a crap ton of picks. They have a crap ton of picks. They're going to want to move around. And so they might want to jump up. They could jump up, and if they want their quarterback, it's all dependent. Are you willing to take on a haul of picks for the Jets to come up and get their guy? You know, and for me, it's all dependent on who is that head coach. Is it Pete? Is it young, offensive minded? We're gonna jump into that towards the tail end. Again, I just want to obviously address as many questions as I can. Let's jump into the topics. I appreciate everybody rocking. Hummer in the building. What's going on, man? What parking lot for tailgate? So I'm gonna start out at J Lot. Walk around J Lot. I'll try to go to B Lot. There's a lot of tailgating that goes down in B Lot, but then I'm gonna try to go to the Modelo Zone as well and just walk around, man. And it'll be for members only. And so, and if you can't be on that actual live, then it's going to drop as a video as well. And so, but that's where I'm going to be. If any of y'all are actually going to be at the game, then let me know. Meet up with me. I'll be at J-Lot to start out. Go over to the Modelo Zone, and then I'm going to walk back over and I'm going to finish up at J-Lot because there's a ton of stuff that's going J-Lot lives with all the Raider booster clubs and stuff like that. And so I'll definitely give you guys 2 looks at that. And so, all right, let's see. Real quick, hold up. Let's see. Sacktown. Gotta see Jack buy those pictures. I got 2 games left. Sacktown, 2 games left. We'll see how it works out. So, all right. Let's get to it first. All right. Appreciate everybody rocking. Do me a favor, double tap that screen, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you want to get included in the chat, because the first one we're going to talk about is Brock Bowers being shut down for the season, guys. Let me know just kind of what your thoughts, right? It's not surprising that he's shut down. I got some notes I'm going to pull up, just things that I want to talk about regarding this situation. But Brock Bowers, he's shut down. Good. Let's work. Let's continue to work for that number 1 draft pick. That's what I want to see. Jeremy Chin was shut down as well. But as soon as I heard that they shut him down because of just the injury that he's been going through, right? They shut him down on after week 1. He sat out, I want to say about 3 games, right? I believe he sat out 3 games. And so he's been battling this injury, it seems like all season long. And if that's the case, then we were officially eliminated from the playoffs week 13. So there's been 2 games. There's 2 games that he's basically played on this injury that if you shut him down now and it's based off that injury, I don't know why you didn't shut him down earlier. That's my biggest issue with it. Now, It's good that he's shutting him. They're shutting him down. And he's not playing. But my question is, why didn't you do it earlier when we were officially eliminated from the playoffs and basically eliminate any further injury to what he's already going through? Minimize any further injury to a guy that we need to be a staple of this offense moving forward. That was my only thought when I first heard it. And the reason why they shut him down was because of the injury. My hope is that he didn't further injure what he's going through. I believe it's a ligament injury, and that's tough. Ligaments, if you continue to kind of stress those type of injuries, it just takes that much longer to fully recover off of it. And sometimes ligaments, tendons, they don't fully go back to 100%. And so you're susceptible to further injury moving forward, depending on how bad that damage is. And so, again, not going to like harp on it too much, but as soon as I heard that it was due to that injury that he suffered week 1 and has just been battling through it, man, I wish we would have just shut him down earlier when playoffs were no longer in the picture and start the recovery process right then and there. Just my opinion on that. Now, I know that you see teams now all across the league, they're starting to shut down players. We're doing it. The Chiefs are doing it. So, maybe it's just that time to do it, but I wish they would have done it earlier. So let me know. Let me know you guys thoughts on that. Agree, disagree. Again, it's just one of my first thoughts. Tragedy. What's going on, man? The media scared Raiders into writing a statement about Crosby. Raiders staff is soft. I just heard what Pete Carroll said, and we're going to talk about MAXX Crosby here in a second. I heard what Pete Carroll said, but I don't know what the actual statement was that was released. So, but yeah, I'm just basing on the press conference. Hummer, you're saying I don't believe in tanking, but hurting Bowers or MAXX right now is absolutely stupid. I'm okay if we lose out the season, get the rookies more time on the field. Yeah, once the playoffs are kind of out of it, the only reason, here's the one caveat to that. Okay. And again, this is just me, one being a player for a long time and being a coach. One reason why you don't sit players at a certain time is, imagine if you start sitting offensive linemen, but you got a running back there, and you have the team that you're going up against. They're not sitting their players right tomorrow. And again, I'll get into it. My pregame breakdown tomorrow morning is, it doesn't look like the Giants are sitting anybody on that front four, on that defense, right? You're going to be going against Dexter Lawrence. You're going to be going against Abdul Carter. You're going to be going against Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, right? If you start sitting offensive linemen, you're risking the safety of those running backs in the backfield. That's the hard part about sitting players at times. So again, I want to say that in the same breath, as much as I don't know why you didn't sit Brock, if it truly is because of an injury and now, playoffs are out of the picture. Why don't you sit him earlier, start the recovery process, the healing process? But in the same breath, for certain players, you also don't want to risk injury. And that's the only caveat to that I would say. And if that's what's in their mindset, now MAXX is a different story, right? If they shut him down because of injury, defense is a different story. You're not necessarily risking injury when it comes to defensive players. It's mainly on offense. So that's the only caveat to that. Yeah. You're saying, yep, ligaments can't be stitched. You're exactly right. I've known people. Luckily, I've never gone through that, but I've known people that have gone through ligament injuries, tendon injuries, and there's times, man, it just doesn't come back 100%. And it takes a long time to further and further you kind of mess with that. So I wish we would have just shut him down earlier. But Taddy, I think the media blew the MAXX leaving the building out of proportion. That's the next topic. All right, I just kind of touched on Brock Bowers. I just want to give you my quick take. I definitely want to give enough time to kind of talk about, just get some questions in. So we're going to tap into that. But you're going to kind of lead me into the MAXX situation. So let me kind of change up the banner. We're going to talk about, look, MAXX Crosby, shutdown versus the Giants. I'm going to give you my take on it. Raider Pete in the building. Appreciate you rocking here. Our tickets 50% off now that the few stars left are bets. I haven't looked at tickets. I'm actually going to look at tickets tomorrow morning. Just look see what they look like. I'm not going to go into tomorrow's game most likely. I got my father-in-law, some of my nieces and nephews coming in town, so I'm not going to go to the game tomorrow. But the Chiefs game, that's when I'm most likely going to go to. But those tickets are plummeting. And so appreciate everybody in the building. Before we talk about MAXX, do me a favor, double tap that screen. I'm going to pour another one. Rock it out with you guys, man. Actually, no, I'm not going to pour another one. I'm going to finish what I got in my cup, and then we'll rock it out and pour another one. I will pour another one when we start getting to kind of the Q&A. So we're I'm going to open it up. Whatever y'all want to talk about, definitely get included in the chat. Double tap that screen. But Max Crosby shut down versus the Giants. Now look, you shut him down now. He's done for the season. I know Pete Carroll went up in the presser and he tried to play it off like we don't know if he's done for the season. But we're going to shut him down for this game. You shut him down and let him leave the building. I'm sorry. That means that you're shutting him down for the rest of the season. So it would make no sense for him to come back versus the Chiefs. So again, it's just another example. Pete Carroll he's basically been lying to us since the beginning of the season, even going back to the Christian Wilkins crap, right? He came up to the podium multiple times with that Christian Wilkins crap and basically saying, hey, he's been doing everything he needs to get back, right? And then you have this shit that goes down. It just didn't make any sense. I think they tried to figure out a way to kind of get him out the building, but now we'll see who wins that because obviously Christian Wilkins is battling that whole situation. But Pete Carroll has been lying to us since day one, and I think this is just another lie. And I hate. This is why I think that's just another reason on top of probably the 20 other examples or reasons why I want to move on from Pete Carroll at this point. But I hate it. I don't like him talking in that way and just kind of basically lying to us. But there's a bunch of reports that are basically coming out saying that Max Crosby basically stormed out that building, right? That's what the reports are saying. Now, take it with a grain of salt. You know, they could just be trying to get for trying to build up some clickbait or whatever. But if he was pissed, and you know what, I'm looking through. Taddy, you're saying that he kind of threw it out of proportion. The media threw it out of proportion, maybe. Jason, sorry, I'm gonna get back to that one. Jason, I'm starting. I'm gonna get back to that one. DMS, I appreciate you rocking in here. Troy Gill. And DMS, let me know if you're coming to any of the tailgates this week or next, or tomorrow or next. I'm definitely gonna be out there. We could definitely link up. I just want to say what's up to you, man. Let me know. But Troy Gill, you're saying ESPN reports that Mad Max is gonna have surgery on the knee injury. If that's true, then why the hell didn't you shut him down 2 weeks ago? If he now has to have surgery, and it's bad enough that he needs to have surgery, when we no longer are in the running for playoffs, why didn't you shut him down then? If there's any ability, and again, depending on who the next head coach is, then I would be open to potentially trading Max. I'm not saying I would. I'm saying I'd be open. I would be fielding phone calls. But if Max has to have knee surgery, and that knee surgery, if the extent of that injury could have been basically, what's the word I'm trying to look for? If that injury could have been avoided, then why didn't you shut him down when we had no chance at playoffs? If you want to potentially try to trade him, his trade value now is going to diminish if he needs to have surgery on a knee. That's wild. Now his contract's great, but that's wild. That kind of pisses me off. So, but again, let me kind of go back to my thought. If the reports are true and there was a disagreement and Max basically just left the locker room, left the facility, and basically went home, in my opinion, I think that's not a good look. It's not a good look as a leader of this team. I understand being pissed. I understand that you're not happy, and I get it. Now, if he needs to have surgery, that's a different story. I think if you need to have surgery, then you need to have a little bit of self awareness and shut yourself down because you're playing for nothing at this point. Like I will say that it might be you're just kind of pad your stats at this point because you playing means really nothing to the success of the team, and so you might just be playing to kind of pad your stats. But at the same time, if it results in surgery, then don't play. If you're that pissed off, then don't play. Walk out the locker room. Now, it's a front office and it's a head coach's decision to shut you down. If you storm out the building because you're pissed and you leave the facility, you still need to be there as a leader of this team, to be the face and leader of this team, man. Still need to be there for your teammates. You need to be there at practice. You still need to be there to support your teammates. That's what a leader does. You got to control your emotions of the moment and be there for your teammates. Those guys are still playing. There's still guys on this team that will be here next year. They're not on one-year contracts. They're not on the last year of their contracts. So they're going to be here and they're going to be getting playing time. Be there for them. You could be pissed off all you want. That's fine. But don't just storm out, leave the facility, because I guarantee you they most likely gave him that news before practice. Once he reported to the locker room, they had that conversation, he left, and practice still went on. That's the only thing I'm not a fan of with this situation, if the reports are true that he basically stormed out. You stick around for your teammates. They didn't make the decision to shut you down. Be there for those guys. And so that's what I would have liked to see out of MAXX, being what he's supposed to be, is the leader of this locker room. So guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. I just look at it in that respect. But if he needs to have surgery, they should have shut him down 2 weeks ago and avoid further injury to whatever surgery he has to have, man. It's tough. I'm not a fan of them doing it so late, but we'll see if that's true. If the ESPN reports are true, shout out to Troy Gill for throwing it in here. And he needs to have surgery. God, we're about to talk about some questions, and if you guys have questions about do we fire Pete? Do we move on? Next head coach situation, I'll tell you right now, Max Crosby having surgery, that's going to be tough if we even want to explore the option of trading Max Crosby. So, guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. I've been on for about an hour and 18 minutes. I'm going to open it up. I know there's been some questions about quarterbacks. There's been some questions about who we keep, who we move on from. Next, head coach, stuff like that. I want to kind of open it up. I don't get many opportunities to kind of chop it up one-on-one with you guys. So if you have some questions, if you guys have some topics, I'll definitely bring some up to kind of talk about them. But let me know. Let me know. I got Alex. It looks like it's Alex in the building. What's going on, man? Winning is a loss for us on a franchise quarterback. It is. And if you guys like somebody, it is. It is. And I'm going to tap in a little bit about why I want to see Pete Carroll gone. Again, a couple things that a lot of people aren't talking about. Even John Spytek. We'll talk about John Spytek and whether or not we keep John Spytek around. We'll definitely talk about that. Let's see. Ronald Ponder. I like it. Be mad, go home, eat the last drumsticks with your wife. See you tomorrow. And let's hope he comes back to the facility tomorrow. No, sorry, it's game day. He'll be there most likely for game day, but let's see if he comes back. He stormed off. He was pissed. But look, at the end of the day, be there for your teammates, but we'll see if he comes back. I just don't like the fact that he stormed off. And that moment was still practice, having to go down, be there for your teammates. But we'll see if he comes back, man. We'll see if he comes back. Hummer. Media is media. I'll wait to hear from Max Mouth. His guys on the show will say what he can. Yeah, maybe. And again, I agree. It's all dependent on really is what the media feeding us right? So we'll see kind of how that plays out. If we have the number one pick, yes, new head coach. Man, a lot of people like the new head coach said, bye, Pete. So bad. Bye, Pete. So bad. Felicia can come back. Weekend, Wingman, what's going on, man? Raiders need a quarterback and a coach. I think you're saying head coach. Change the culture. Chiefs and Broncos taking turns in that situation. Yeah, man. Yeah. What's going on, man? You got a question. What do you think about having 12 personnel as the base, not a package? So I know, you rock out with us, and I appreciate everybody. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you got a question, if you have a comment. I'll definitely bring it up. I'll do my best. We're gonna kind of get just into that Q&A session. I'm gonna take down the banners if it's still up. Hold up, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm gonna take down the banners. We're gonna open this thing up. Whatever questions you guys got, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. So there's actually a free agent tight end that I want to bring in because 12 personnel is great, right? Brock Bowers is going to be on the field. Michael Mayer still has a year on his contract, so he's going to come back. I think you live in 12 personnel if you have tight ends that can definitely block. And I'll tell you right now, when we break down game film on Wednesdays, I think our tight ends are struggling on the blocking side. Michael Mayer's been struggling blocking. Brock Bowers, he's never been a blocking tight end. I think we can move to more of a 12 personnel if we go in free agency and go get ourselves a true blocking tight end. I think Ian Thomas has struggled a lot with helping out in the block in the run game blocking wise. He's been really non-existent in the passing game. And so I'd be okay if we go 12 personnel, but we got to bring in one more guy that can truly be a good blocking tight end. And I've already kind of located the guy that I want. He's a guy, as we kind of go into the offseason, he's a guy from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe he's like their third or second tight end over there, that he's a free agent next offseason. He's more of a true blocking tight end. I'm going to showcase him this offseason when we talk about free agents that I want to see brought in. If we can bring that guy in, he helps a little bit with the Bucs in the passing game. But you go watch his run blocking ability. He's an absolute stud when it comes to run blocking. And so I'm going to do kind of more research. I'm going to dive into more game film, but he's definitely a guy that I'm going to showcase in this offseason. Again, he's a tight end over with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. God, we bring that guy in. I think 12 personnel could be more realistic because then you bring in a true run blocking tight end. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing a true fullback. You know, you look at what Kyle Shanahan kind of does over there to help out Brock Purdy, and you got Juszczyk as a true fullback. If we want to run this offense through Ashton Genty, if we want to get the best out of our number 6 overall pick, I think that you need to run more of a downhill scheme. I want to see more of a power run scheme, and I think what you can do with a true fullback, I think would benefit Genty. In the style of offense, I think he can thrive in. And so, not only bringing a true run blocking tight end, but I think bringing a true fullback into this scheme, I think really could help our run game. Because again, it's all about getting the best out of your number 6 overall pick. And I think a power run scheme, bringing a fullback to where you can, and bringing a fullback means you can run counters, you can run misdirection, you can use that fullback in so many different ways that could definitely help with a power run scheme. So again, I appreciate the question, but that's just my opinion. I think 12 personnel could work if we bring in that true run blocking tight end. And I got a guy at Tampa Bay that's a free agent this year. I'm going to check him out. I want to bring him in. Troy Gill going to have to draft 2 pass rushers. I think you're saying in the draft or in free agents. Or I'm sorry, you're saying 1 draft, 1 free agents. Yeah, we definitely got to bring some guys in for sure. I tried to target one last year's mock drafts. I tried to target one starting around the 3rd or 4th round, and I wish the Raiders would have done that as well. Taddy, Max had to have known he'd need surgery. Makes me believe more the Jay Glazer report was an exaggeration. Maybe because I think the Jay Glazer report was the one where he was pissed off and he stormed out, I think. So yeah, maybe. Jeff, Pete said his presser yesterday, he basically told Max to go home. I know, and again, I don't even know what to believe. Like he said, Max go home. Did Max just storm out? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll see what the truth may come out at some point. But like, if you tell, like, I just don't see a head coach. And again, I've coached it for a long time. I don't see a head coach telling a player to go home. You can tell a player to shut down. You could tell a player that, hey, you're not playing this week. But it's up to the player to want what they want to do. You don't ever tell a player to go home. And so I think that's why Pete's just lying. You don't tell a player to go home before practice when the rest of your teammate is practicing. You tell them, hey, we're shutting you down. And that's it. Then it's whatever they want to do. You know, unless there was a true argument, unless there was a big enough argument to where it was better for him to go home, because then you don't want that to be a distraction for the rest of the players going into this week's game. So again, it's all speculation. I'm just speculating, but a head coach would never tell a player to go home. So Pete saying that is wild to me. But MAXX going home tells me that there probably was a disagreement. Or MAXX was just so pissed that he's like, I'm out. But then that pisses me off because MAXX, you still need to be there for your teammates. So, yeah, who knows? It's wild. Raider Pete, looking forward on watching you come through the SPO track, offensive lineman and D-line contracts. Yes, I've already kind of gone through the contracts, at least on our own team. We need to draw a formula up for new proven trenchmen. We are definitely going to break down game film of players that are going to be in the draft. We're going to break down players that are free agents. So we definitely need to bring in more help on the interior D line. We also need to bring more help on the offense line for sure. And we're going to tap into that all off season without question, man. Lito, Lappin, who do you like for the number one pick if the Raiders get it? All right, guys, throw the questions out. I apologize. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. Hit that hashtag Raiders so it definitely catches my eye. I want to make sure that I get to them. And so let's see. Okay. Yeah, Lito. It's a loaded question because I have to see who our next head coach is. And I'll give you a little bit of insight as to what I want to do. If we go young head coach, then I want to start the process of building this franchise and building the quarterback. I know that the next year's quarterback is pretty attractive. I think with guys, with some of the guys that are entering the draft portal, they're going to get to other schools and they're going to have one more year of experience. I think there are some attractive quarterbacks in next year's draft. But if you get a young, offensive-minded head coach, again, I like Clint Kubiak. I'm going to look at this in two different ways. If Clint Kubiak is our next head coach and he likes a quarterback, then get him. Get him at number one. And then that's when I would start fielding phone calls for Max Crosby. And I'm just being dead honest because I want to be able to build up more draft capital for that new young head coach. I want to give Spytech all the pieces needed to create the next foundation. So I'm not saying if it's a young offensive-minded head coach, get your quarterback. I'm not saying trade Max. I'm saying start fielding phone calls of what you could potentially get for him. And if the offer is just too attractive to pass up, I'd say pull the trigger and start building that foundation. That's what I'd be good with. Now, if we stick with Pete Carroll, and guys, agree with me or disagree, if we stick with Pete Carroll, I'm all about trade back. And I want to trade back and get the draft capital that's going to help us in the future. Because I think Pete Carroll, if we stick with Pete Carroll next year, I think he's gone by the end of next season. I don't think he withstands another season after next. The dysfunction that we've seen, the way that we have gotten our ass handed to us, where we're not even competitive. We've been shut out so many times. We've been blown out so many goddamn times. I don't see him being the next head coach. So I don't want to waste another first-round draft pick. Because if the next head coach doesn't like the guy that you get, let's say we get Mendoza, and the next head coach doesn't like Mendoza, and wants to move on from him or doesn't take this job because you don't like Mendoza, you just kind of wasted a first round draft pick, right? And so if Pete is still our head coach next season, I want to trade back, and typically in the first round, especially in a top 10, top 15 pick, I want to address the positions that take up the most salary cap if you get somebody as a top tier free agent. So, for example, right, quarterbacks, if you get somebody as a top tier free agent in the offseason, quarterback, they demand the most salary cap. Offensive tackle, number one corner, edge rusher, number one receiver. Those are the 5 positions that will demand the most salary cap. If you get the top tier free agent, I want to be able to get those guys in the draft. And if they work out to be a top 5 player in the league at their position, then you have them as a 5th-year option, and you have a top tier athlete within a rookie contract. And so picks basically 15, 10, and under, I want to be able to address those position groups. With that being said, if Pete Carroll is our head coach going into the 2026 season, I want to trade back and I want to address one of those position groups. I want to address a position group that can withstand a regime change. So, for example, a number one receiver. Go get a number one receiver. I don't care who comes in here. It's like Brock Bowers, right? Brock Bowers, no matter who comes in here, will withstand that next regime change because it is hard to come across tight ends. So that next head coach will utilize them to the best of his ability. A number one receiver will survive a regime change. Colton Miller, we already have him at left tackle. Go get a right tackle. If you trade back far enough, I don't like getting a guard, in the top 15. But if you find yourself trading back, and again, I'm just saying this is the scenario. If you trade all the way back into like 18, 19, even in the early 20s to just absolutely stockpile draft picks, again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it did, then I'd go get the best guard out there. I wouldn't mind trading back if you find yourself in, around 11, 12, 13, go get that Jacob Rodriguez. Go get a middle linebacker, a linebacker that will withstand a regime change, maybe an edge rusher. Get somebody that will withstand a regime change because that's my fear. If we hold on to Pete, the next head coach may not like the guy that we take, may not like the quarterback that we take. So that a lot is going to determine my decision with that number one, depending on who the next head coach is. So again, let me know if you agree or disagree. I know it's kind of a loaded question. I know that we won't know a lot until really the decision on Pete Carroll is made. So we'll see. Dave, too bad Spy Tech didn't tell Pete to do the same. And look, I don't know if it's a question that's being thrown out there, but I'll look. I'm not a fan of what Spy Tech did as a whole in last year's draft or free agency. I think free agency, without question, he was full rebuild mode. I was on a live shout out to Rundown and Jay earlier in the season. I think it was probably around like week 2, maybe. You can look at what Spy Tech did in the offseason and what Pete Carroll tried to do, and I think they were completely on different pages. And I kind of mentioned that really early in the season, where it looked like Spy Tech was in full rebuild mode, whereas Pete Carroll was in full, like, I need to win now mode by bringing over Geno Smith. And I think they just kind of, their paths just weren't meshing well. And so as much as I don't agree with the players that Spy Tech chose, I understood the direction, right? I wasn't a fan of getting Jetty at 6 because I think in no world, unless he is without question, a home run hitter every single, like I look at Chris Johnson back in the day, for the Titans. There was no question. Every time Chris Johnson touched that football, like he could be gone. Didn't matter what that offensive line looked like. Like he could be gone once or twice in a game. Like I don't think Genty has that. I think Genty definitely needs good blocking in front of him, and I think that's shown. You definitely want your number 6 to be able to create his own success. Sometimes at number 6, you need your number 6 overall to sometimes make the O-line look good. right? And we just really haven't seen that consistently. And look, I don't expect Genty to be this Pro Bowl running back behind this offensive line. This offensive line is not good, right? I just wanted to see more flashes throughout the season, and there were plenty of opportunities to do so, even with how bad this offensive line looked. But again, I'm more of a build in the trenches guy, because at the same time, and it's no knock on Genty, because I was not a fan of re-signing Josh Jacobs, because I want to take the money that you invest into the running back position and invest it in the offensive line, because I think a running back needs a good offensive line to find success. The offensive line determines the ceiling of your running game, not the floor. And so I would take that money that's allocated to a running back and put it in the offensive line. Josh McDaniels just didn't play it out right. He picked Zamir White. That's not it. He invested into Dylan Parham, wasn't the right guy. So, and if you have a top 10 offensive line, not only do you open up holes for a running game, so you can get a guy in the 4th round, 5th round, or get a guy in free agency that nobody's paying top tier money for running backs in free agency unless it's the final piece of the puzzle. You look at the Eagles, you look at even the Ravens. The Ravens thought Derrick Henry was going to be the final piece of the puzzle, so they paid him. That's fine, rightfully so. But in our situation, I'm not paying a running back. So what sucks is if we don't get the best of the Genty, and Genty isn't a piece to a potential Super Bowl run, we might not re-sign him to a bigger contract, to his next contract. We might move on from him, just like Josh Jacobs, because the market doesn't show that you don't pay running backs big money. That's what the market shows. That's what the market says. And so you want to pick somebody at number 6 overall that's going to be here for the rest of their franchise, the rest of their career. That's what you would hope. And I don't think you do that with a running back. And so that's why, again, I'm just not a fan of picking a guy at number 6. Again, I'm not here to argue whether Genty is good a player or not. It's just that's my strategy. Sorry, I ranted for a little bit. But all that to say, I think we keep Spytek because we need to be able to one, we don't know how Pete did with developing those young players, right? Spytek addressed needs, wasn't the way I wanted to do it, but he did address some needs, and he did address players in that position, whether it be free agency in the draft. So he addressed the needs. He navigated well through the draft. But we need to show any future GM or head coaching prospects that if we hire you, we're going to hold on to you. I think they can move on from Pete Carroll because of his age, and we have a reason to. And I think that's justifiable. But you can't move on from Spytek. As much as I'm not a fan of who he brought in, the guys that he drafted, I think we need to at least make the effort of showing as an organization that we are willing to hold on to the guys that we hire. And we'll see if he fails or not. But that's the only reason why I'd keep Spytek. Taddy with the hashtag Raiders. You think we should overpay guys like Linderbaum, Rasheed Walker, or David Edwards to solidify the O-line and has Grant, Glaze, Rodgers, Meredith as depth, then focus on draft QB on defense? I said this in the last offseason. I'll overpay. I will overpay for an offensive line. If there's any position I would overpay, it's offensive line. Because I'm a firm believer that if you want to have a good offense, it starts with the offensive line. I don't care what pieces you have around it. If you want to have a good offense, it starts with the offensive line. And so I would, without question, overpay offensive linemen. Now, when it comes to kind of the backups, look, I'm a big Jordan Meredith guy. Jordan Meredith had a good season 2 years ago. I think this year, Brendan Carroll has just done a really bad job with the starters on this offense. And that's why every single one of them have regressed. And that starts with coaching. I think the reason why we've seen some promise with Caleb Rogers, it's been up and down, but we've seen some promise. And I said this on a couple lives in the past, is that your backups, you have developmental coaches. You have assistant coaches within position groups that help develop players. There's a good chance that Joe Philbin might be working with Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant to develop them, whereas Brendan Carroll is working and focusing more on the starters. That's just how some coaching staffs, they are built, where you have developmental coaches. And if you have players that you are really focused on to develop, you're going to take some of your positional coaches, like a Joe Philbin. You're going to work directly with Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. So that might be the reason why we're seeing more promise with Caleb Rogers in some of these games than the starters, and the starters regressing because Brendan Carroll, which doesn't have the resume, he does not have the resume to be the head O-line coach. I think that's why we're seeing a bunch of regression. So, you take a guy like Jordan Meredith, right? I think he did really good as a guard last year. This year, he's regressed because you put him at center, a position he's never played before. But I think Jordan Meredith, if you turn into a true power run scheme, that's where I think Jordan Meredith might struggle a little bit. He's great at technique. He's great at positioning, which is good in the power run, but he's not going to maul you. He's not going to remove you off the line of scrimmage. And so I think with the regression that we've seen with all of our starters, it's hard to determine, can they get back to what they showed in 2024? But I will say, without question, I will overpay for offensive linemen at this point. Which ones? I don't know just yet. I'm going to do more homework once that Chiefs game is done. But I will overpay for offensive linemen moving forward. Hummers, 100% agree with fullback. Better running blocks for Genty and blocking for quarterback. Most D-lines are not built to protect it anymore. Yeah, and you can get very creative. Pigs, what's going on, man? I'm blocking tight end and fullback seems redundant. Your blocking tight end should be able to fill fullback's role in today's game. At times, you can use it like that, right? Like more like an H-back. I agree. And that's why, I'll be real, I thought Michael Mayer was going to utilize that role and play that role. Man, he has shown he struggles. He struggles with run blocking. I thought Ian Thomas was going to come in and help out with that role. That has struggled. And so, again, I like the kid over at Tampa Bay. I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown on him. But yes, you can use the tight end in a fullback role. But if you can get a true fullback that just has played the position, that understands the position, that has history in that position and understands it, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I agree with you. You could use a tight end in the fullback role. But if we stick with what we have and we don't bring in a true blocking tight end, then I wouldn't be opposed to a fullback. So let's see. Pigs. I liked Reese and Bush back in the day. But I'll tell you right now, Marcel Reese was the stud, but I think somebody that's been so kind of underrated as a true running back, Michael Bush. Michael Bush was an absolute stud. I thought that if he went elsewhere and got an opportunity, he could have been a damn good, even just running back in general. So yeah, I thought he was an absolute stud. Edgar, Genty has the flu. Mostert, Besh out. All right. Is that what you're saying? Chat, let me know if the reports are true. So Genty has the flu. Mostert out. Besh out. That's wild. Then we're gonna see what's our kid, the returner. Dylan Labe. Looks like Dylan Labe. The one guy that I'd love to see. Bring guys up. If they're out, bring guys up from the practice squad. And the one kid I want to see, I was hoping he'd make the 53-man roster. Chat, help me out. He only got probably about 3 or 4 carries the last preseason game. He was on our practice squad for a long time, from a small college school. God, help me out. I'm blanking on his name. Let me know, guys, if you can remember. From a small school, he's like 5'11", 205 pounds, man. If this kid can get some touches, I was curious to see what he could do. But yeah, let me know if you guys remember his name. Jeff, all right, if you go to the TNBC tailgate, look for Marty Byers. Tell him you know me. Hung around with him a lot in Philly. Great dude. Okay, man, I will. Without question. I think I saw some shorts maybe that I think I know Marty. I think he came out here for the home opener. I think. And he was at the cigar lounge, and so I think I know who you're talking about. But I'll do some research, see if I can put a name to a face. But or send it to me on IG. Let me know, and I'll definitely try to take a look at it. But yeah, TMBC is supposed to be doing something huge in J Lot, so I'll definitely walk y'all around in J Lot. PDL has more decided if he's going to declare for the draft. To me, that's the biggest question. I don't know if he has declared. I haven't heard anything of him declaring. I'm sure he's going to wait until after the bowl games are done. Pigs, trade back is ideal. Yeah, again, for me, it's just depending on what our head coaching looks like. Head coach situation looks like would be Dave would be disappointing if they stick with Pete. It would be for me, and for so many reasons. I don't like sticking around with Pete. Pigs. If we can get some stock in the 2027 draft, that would go a long way for a proper rebuild. It would be for sure. Let's see. Just want to make sure if there's any. Guys, do me a favor. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you guys got it. If you guys got a question or comment to what I'm talking about, you see Alex said I don't blame Spy, blame Pete for not playing the rookies with his ego. Yeah, we just don't know how well these rookies are developing, right? We break down the game film, just don't know how well they're developing because I think Pete he's not into developing guys, and I think it's because he's in win now mode where Spy Tech is in rebuild mode. And man, the writing was on the wall all off season. Pigs, Spy Tech. I have more belief in than the results from the coaches thus far, and I just don't like the guys he went out and got. Right? He addressed the needs. He truly did. I just didn't like the guys he got. I think I think where you can give him the most credit is he did a good job in the linebacker room. You know, Jermaine Pratt, he brought in for a hell of a deal, and Jermaine Pratt was the leading tackler on that Cincy defense. Not a great Cincy defense, but he was the leading tackler on that defense, and I thought, for the contract that he brought him in for, I thought it was a good one. Atlanta Roberts has turned into a really good linebacker for us. I think he's shown promise. I think he's a guy that I definitely want to see us bring back. And then Devin White, again, horrible in pass coverage. A lot of cleanup tackles, but his athleticism has allowed him to get to the ball. And so for that contract, we definitely got our money's worth. You cannot deny that we got our money's worth. We signed him for a 1 year, $1 million contract. So a lot of bargain shopping that went on in the offseason. But I definitely disagree. Like Alice Kappa, completely disagree. Stone Forsythe, completely disagree. The draft picks, completely disagree. But he addressed the needs. So let's just hope he improves on the draft picks. Let's just hope that he improves on getting guys that we can see more promise. But to your point, it is tough because we just don't know how much development has gone on with Pete Carroll. So, Dave, I don't think Spy Tech has the pull as much as is needed to make draft picks, free agency, etc. Too many cooks in the kitchen. That could be, and that kind of goes to why I don't think it would be good to get a veteran head coach in this building. Spy Tech is a rookie GM. He's next year he's going to be a second year GM, right? As much as I like Tomlin, man, if you brought Tomlin over here, man, it would be. I think it would. And mind you, Tomlin would probably be my fifth head coach that I on the list. But you bring him in, he's going to dictate what he wants to do. He's going to push around Spy Tech because he's a young GM. But I do think Tomlin, I think in the last 3 years has been what's held him back is I think he's been he's had the pressures of win now mode. I think that's where Tomlin has struggled, right? You bring in Aaron Rodgers, that's a win now mode type of situation. Whereas if you let Mike Tomlin completely hit the reset button and build this thing from scratch and know he's got 3 years to kind of build this thing, there's no reason why you would think he couldn't do it. But I also think that you wouldn't allow Spy Tech to really make the decision. So now, if it's an absolute failure, I don't know who you point to. Is it Tomlin because he's got too much control? Is it Spy Tech because he made the wrong picks or acquisitions? It's hard to tell. So I'd like to match up a young GM with a first-year head coach like a Clint Kubiak. Mike LaFleur's out there. My next up would be like a Brian Flores, maybe Robert Saleh. I would just like a younger head coach so the chain of command runs properly. The GM is accountable for what he's supposed to do, and the GM holds the head coach accountable for what he's supposed to do. And so I would just like proper chain of command. Pigs, Chris Johnson was a true game breaker. I'm telling you, like, even with a bad offensive line, Chris Johnson, you knew, give him the ball, and he could be off to the races. And so, and to me, I felt like, man, like that is a guy. And even then, I don't even know if I'd pick him at number 6, but that's an example of a guy that's like, damn, like you could justify it. You could justify it. So, Dave, I think Pete has a lot of sway in making personnel moves. Yeah, it looks like it. Obviously, Stone Forsythe, Geno Smith had a lot to do with Pigs. Kyle Monangai in the 7th round, just killing it for the Bears. And that was my strategy in the draft. Was you get a guy like, I think Amarian Hampton was the only all-around running back that I liked in the draft, right? He could be a short yardage guy. He could be an every down back for you. If I went, then I would go TreVeyon Henderson. If you got TreVeyon Henderson, then I knew you would need a short yardage back. I even said when we picked Genty that we still needed a short yardage back. Kyle Monangai was a guy I wanted to go after. You know, he was a guy, in my opinion, that could have been that true short yardage back. It remained to be seen if he could be an every down back. But there's guys in the later rounds that can truly be a successful running back if you give them top 10 offensive line blocking. You know, and so that's just my strategy. That's how I look at the running back room. But yeah, Kyle Monangai was a guy that I wanted to target in the later rounds if we got like a TreVeyon Henderson or even like an RJ Harvey, right? Run down shot to him. He was high on RJ Harvey. Like I liked RJ Harvey, but not as much as others. But even RJ Harvey is like I still don't think he's not an every down back. I don't even think he could be truly like a featured back on first down. But you combine him with an RJ Harvey and a Kyle Monangai, that could be a deadly running back room. But also the reason why I hate just I'm more of a running back by committee type of guy. I like the rotation because running backs get hurt all the time, and you don't want to fall off so bad when running backs get injured. And this is why I said this prior to the draft, is that I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, given the fact that running backs get injured. They get hurt. And you don't want to fall off when you literally just put all your eggs in one basket. And that's kind of what we've done. Like Genty gets hurt, it's Mostert. Mostert's not a featured back anymore. And then if Mostert gets hurt, it's Dylan Labe. Like you fall off so much. So, Pigs, you're saying running back injuries make the position very high. Yes, they do. And there's so many other reasons why I don't like to pick running backs high. But that's for another live. Don't want to bore you guys with that. Nugget overdose. Do you think we would intentionally lose to hold our possible? I don't think anything is intentional as it relates to players. Right, players are going to go out there. You're going to play 110%. You know, where coaches can maybe do it is, again, like we're seeing, you start shutting players down. And so you start putting players in that you know aren't going to perform at the top level that you're looking for. So, you know, they can strategically do it, and we're starting to see it. We are starting to see it, man, but I appreciate you popping in here. And so Bruce Davis, none of the starters should not play until next year. All right, yeah, you're saying drop them. I'm with you. JX Redder, appreciate you becoming a member, man. Make sure you tap in tomorrow, 10:30 Pacific time. I'm going live from J-Lot from Allegiant Stadium. Just one of my ways of being able to show my appreciation to the members. But at the same time, becoming a member, you can throw out suggestions on who you want to do game film breakdown in the offseason, free agents or draft prospects. So throw them out there, and I'm going to start putting a list together. Also, hit me up on IG _805 Raider. Hit me up on Instagram. You can throw me suggestions there as well. And so you're talking about, yes, Chris Collier. I liked Chris Collier. I thought he could be a guy that could be a competition piece in the backfield. Um, I want to see him more that last preseason game, but unfortunately, they really didn't give him a whole lot of opportunities, a whole lot of carries. God, like if Genty's gone or if Genty's out, if Mostert's out, man, give me Chris Collier. I just want to see what this kid can do. And so, that's just me. And so, Bruce, there's more. Moore has not said anything yet, so hopefully he comes out. We have a chance to draft him. Yeah, we'll definitely see how that works out, Taddy. I'm trading Mayer. We can draft a better blocking tight end. I think we can get a better blocking tight end. Again, we're going to check out that guy from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that's a free agent next year. I think that kid could really be a good blocking tight end for us. Add him to this tight end room. But we'll see just kind of how Michael Mayer works out. The only reason for me is you keep Michael Mayer around because coming out of college, man, he was touted as one of, if not the better pass catching tight ends coming out of college. And so if a Brock Bowers does get injured, if he goes down, then you can maybe slot Michael Mayer in that position and kind of play that role. I know they're not extremely similar in skill set at all, but at least you have somebody that can play that role. And that's the only reason why I'd keep Michael Mayer around. I still want a true blocking tight end because, man, we have struggled. Frank White, I think they're doing a good job with Tonka Hemingway. He's definitely flashed. And as what was he, a fourth rounder? You definitely like to see the flashes of that fourth rounder. Let's see him get a little more work these next two games and see what he could do. Let's see. Just want to say, let's see what everybody else is in here. Frank White, you want to hear my list? Okay, my list. It goes Clint Kubiak, number 1. Then it goes Mike LaFleur, number 2. Then I would probably lean Brian Flores. I mean, Brian Flores literally has been in the National Football League, not only as a head coach. I think the Miami Dolphins kind of screwed him in what he did over there. He has been a defensive coordinator. He has been with the Patriots for within those years of them being in their Super Bowl runs and just being extremely competitive. He has been a part of a coaching staff in every single capacity. And so if we didn't go young offensive-minded head coach, which I lean, then I would go Brian Flores. A lot of people are throwing Joe Brady out there. And look, I like what Joe Brady's doing as an offensive coordinator with the Bills, but you go back and look at his history. He really hasn't been in the NFL as a coach in any capacity for very long. I think he's got about 3 or maybe 4 years of experience in the NFL. And so I would just take the more experience because I want a coach that's going to come in and understand the ropes. I don't want much guessing work going on. And I think Brian Flores brings just that mentality. And I think he's going to be able to warrant much respect out of some of the other coordinators in the league because he's been there. He's done that. He's shown that he could turn the Miami Dolphins around. He did a really good job. I believe it was his maybe second to last year, where he went on like a 6 or 7 game winning streak to potentially keep his job, and then they moved on from him. Right? And so that's my thing with Brian Flores. I think he will command and warrant enough confidence and enough respect amongst the league where he could bring in a guy like, he could bring in a Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator. He could bring in, if Mike McDaniel's job is at risk and the Dolphins move on from him, could he bring in a Mike McDaniel's as an offensive coordinator? Next would be Robert Saleh, Brian Flores, who knows? Maybe Mike McCarthy wants to come back to coaching and he could bring in Mike McCarthy as the OC. So then you got Robert Saleh. I wouldn't be mad at Robert Saleh either. He's got just as much experience in the NFL as Brian Flores. I just lean Brian Flores because I think just the mentality that he brings, I think just the history that he's shown as a head coach, I think leans me more towards Brian Flores. Now, outside of that, then you got the Mike Tomlins, right? Then you got Mike Tomlin. Do you want to just take a swing on Mike Tomlin, just knowing that his history and he can hit the reset button? Yes, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Mike Tomlin. I do worry about him overtaking Spy Tech and stuff like that. So, You know, that would be my fifth choice. I am a hard no on John Gruden. I know a lot of people are throwing that out there. I'm a hard no on John Gruden because I think John Gruden have way too much power as it relates to roster moves, which he has proven that he is horrible at bringing in free agents, at drafting well. He's horrible at it. In addition to that, if him and John Spytek have any issues as it relates to decisions, the only reason why John Gruden will be here is because of Mark Davis. And John Gruden, if there's any issues, he's going to take the first elevator up to Mark Davis's office and get in his ear and go, this young guy, this young GM doesn't know what he's talking about. This is what I want to do. You better correct him. And Mark Davis will most likely listen to John Gruden. And I don't want that. I don't want the chain of command to be disrupted. So I'm a hard no on John Gruden. Guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. Frank White, I wanted to get Tet in the first and Henderson in the second. Man, I don't know if you rocked with us, Frank, in all the mock drafts. I was a massive Tedderell McMillan fan. I thought the thing about what Tedderell McMillan is showing is let me see how many more. All right, I'm a little behind the chat. I'm going to get to you guys, I promise. The reason why the running back position is a complementary position, right? The running back position, the success of the running back solely is predicated off of how good your offensive line is in almost all cases, right? Again, Chris Johnson is probably like a Barry Sanders, stuff like that. Those are maybe the rare situations to where they can overcome a bad offensive line play just because they have that home run hitting aspect to them every single play, right? But the running back position is a complementary position. It's all dependent on how good your offensive line is. But also at the same time, nobody overpays running backs unless it's the final piece of the puzzle. So you can get good running backs in free agency and it's not going to be a massive hit to your cap. The reason why I would have taken Tedderell McMillan at number one, at number 6 overall last year is because number one receivers will demand a massive cap hit. Look at what Jamar Chase just did last season. It's going to demand a massive cap hit. So if you can get that number one receiver and he becomes a top 5 receiver in the National Football League and you have him on a rookie contract, man, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. And a number one receiver can work within any offensive strategy and any offensive concept that you bring to this team. And look, if we would have gotten T-Mac at number 6, I would have had the exact expectations that I have of Genty, right? Even though we have a bad offensive line, I still wanted Genty to be able to flash. I want him to show why he was worth that number 6 overall pick. He needs to be able to, at times, not 8, 9, 10 times, but 2 or 3 times a game, I want him to make the offensive line look better. Whether he's setting up his blocks, where he's making the right cuts to open space, and now bang, he rips off a 20, 30 yarder because he's making the O-line look better at times. And he just hasn't done that consistently. So with T-Mac, I would, and you bring him on, look, he's over with Bryce Young, not the best quarterback in the National Football League. You know, he's in a rebuilding organization with the Carolina Panthers. But when he's one-on-one, you better showcase why you're a top pick. When he's one-on-one, you better beat those 50-50s. I could care less if you're double teamed, T-Mac. You better be able to beat those double teams because you were chosen. I believe he was chosen I think he was picked number 8, I believe. No, prove that you're worth a top 10 pick, right? And I think he's doing that. And so, man, I would have loved to get T-Mac. I would have leaned offensive line. I liked Kelvin Banks. I would have leaned offensive line because, again, I'm a big build in the trenches guy. But I think that's my justification for getting a number one receiver at number 6, even though it is a complementary position. Like, look at what happened with Justin Jefferson this year, right? Bad quarterback play, bad receiver play. It's tough. Just doesn't give him very many opportunities. But because of the salary cap hit for a true number one receiver, that's why I would be willing to pull that trigger on a number 1. Guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's see again, guys. Hit that hashtag Raiders. If you got a question, a comment to what I'm talking about, do me a big favor. Hit that hashtag Raiders. I'm trying to get to is kind of share as many questions that are out there. Edgar, you put Genty with the Bears O line, he'd probably be rookie there. I'm not gonna disagree that Genty would find success with a good offensive line. I'm not gonna agree. I'm not gonna disagree with that. Now, where I question is his ability in open space, because there have been moments, 2-3 times a game, sometimes even 4 or 5, if you take into consideration the passing game, where Genty's been one-on-one, like in open space. And by no means when I say this, I'm not saying Genty's a bad running back, right? I think Genty's still going to be good for us. I'm just saying I'm equating that to the value of picking him at number 6. But you know, if you put him behind the Bears offensive line, making him rookie of the year, if he's the workhorse running back, then it's like when some of the beat writers, or like JT the Brick, right? I know JT the Brick has thrown this out there so much, where he's like, Genty's leading all rookies in running back yards. Okay. I think he's the only rookie he's the only rookie in a lead back situation. Genty's getting all the carries. Plus Jenkins, Quinshon Jenkins. He didn't play the first 3 games, I believe. All right, he didn't play the first 3 games, so he's out 3 games. Then he got hurt. Travion Henderson's in a rotation. RG Harvey is in a rotation and didn't start getting bulk carries until, I don't know, probably 7 weeks into the season. Kyle Monangai, he's in a rotation. Scadaboo, he got injured, but he was also in a rotation, right? But he was looking really promising. And so you put Genty back there, and if he's the workhorse running back, him having the most yards of the running back class isn't the biggest brag, because he's the only workhorse running back. He's the one getting the bulk of the carries. So that's why it's tough. If he were to be if he were to get the bulk of the carries, if he was the number 1 running back over there and got 90% of the carries behind the Bears, he probably could have been rookie of the year. But you got to also compare it to all the other rookies in their situation. So, but again, I'm not saying Genty would be bad. I have question marks whether Genty can do his part when the offensive line does their job, right? Can he make the first man miss consistently? Can he make the cut into open space to turn a 10-yard or an 8 to 10-yard carry into a 30-yard carry because he makes the right cut in open space? And I've showcased multiple times throughout this entire season where he just doesn't make the right cuts. So, I mean, he's a rookie. He can still learn. I think he's having trouble adapting to the speed of the NFL. Can he learn over the offseason? Without question. And so I hope that he does have that ability to showcase that, learn from it, improve on it, and be a guy that everybody can be really happy with at the number 6 overall pick. Let's see. Hummer. Let's see. If Pete has signed onto Tank, then that would only be if he's coming back next year. I agree. You know what I'm saying? If he signed up on it, yeah, I 100% agree. Then he'll be back next year, which is tough. Pigs, Minter. You like Minter? Look, again, that just for me, it just falls back to experience. Minter just, to me, doesn't have enough experience in the NFL to all of a sudden take the reins. I want somebody, because we're in such a bad situation organization-wise, and we've missed so much, to put our eggs in that basket for a young guy that just doesn't have the experience in the NFL and how to manage NFL players. He's doing a really good job that Chargers defense. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't like the experience that he brings. And I'd love, if we're going to go young defensive minded, we got a Brian Flores and a Robert Saleh that I would take him without question. I'd take both of them without question over Minter. Could he be a good head coaching candidate in let's say, 3 years, 4 years when he gets more experience? Maybe. But I just don't like the experience that he brings with him. But he's young and he's got potential. Tad, if we go defensive coach, Flores is the first option. I like him as well. Easy. Mike LaFleur was terrible as the Jets OC. He was, but I'm not fully making my determination off of that, only because I think the Jets organization is bad. I think he had a rookie quarterback that was going to be just a tough to work with. Rookie quarterbacks typically don't have the greatest season to start out because they're rookies, right? So you got to give them some grace there, which I will. And so I'm not determining whether or not Mike Flores will be a good offensive coordinator just based off that Jets stint that he had. And so, but yes, it wasn't great, but I'm not really putting too much merit into that. I'm just taking Clint Kubiak because we know what Clint Kubiak can do as an offensive coordinator, and he's showing it. So, let's see. Teddy, I want an offensive head coach. So, yep, I'm with you. That would be my number one. That'd be my number one, and number two. Really, Joe Gill. Bring Joe Brady and Joe Burrow together would be nice. They work together in LSU. I did a big stint on my take on Joe Burrow. Like if we brought Joe Burrow in here, I wouldn't be mad. I'd hate the draft capital that we would give up, but because of the salary cap that it would take, you'd have to build in the draft because you're not going to be able to. You either have to be able to coach the shit out of some bargain free agents, and then you wouldn't have the draft capital to be able to build in the draft, or you would have to be damn good at coaching and developing third, fourth, and fifth round draft picks. And so I wouldn't be mad at it. We better be damn good at developing players, and we just haven't been that for a while. But I think you might have heard your comment was at 233. So yeah, you probably heard my stint on Joe Brady. I just don't like Joe Brady's experience as a whole. If Clint Kubiak and Mike LaFleur are there, I'd take them over Joe Brady. And because Brian Flores as well as Robert Saleh have just extensive history in the NFL, I would lean more towards them. Joe Brady, I don't like the amount of experience he's had so far, and to just kind of throw him in that. Not saying he'd be bad. I look at the experience. Edgar, I'm almost sure we bring someone Indiana if we draft Fernando, including one of his receivers. Maybe you could bring in somebody that he's familiar with. Wouldn't be a bad decision. As it relates to personnel or players, when it comes to coaching, man, if this is what you're talking about, I know some people have talked about bringing a college coach. I think our organization needs somebody that understands this. I don't want a young college head coach that we're basically a guinea pig at this point. The percentage of college head coaches that come to the NFL do not work out right away, or if at all. We're so far beyond giving that a chance. We need someone that understands this level of coaching and has extensive experience in it. Because if you miss on this next head coach, and this is why, if the Raiders move on from Pete Carroll, they better know for a fact that the guy that they want is going to come and be the next head coach. Because if you miss on this head coach, you have to give him 3 years. At this point, we need to stop the revolving door. You can justify moving on from Pete Carroll because he's 74 years old. But you have to stop the revolving door of head coaches. So you have to give this next head coach 3 years minimum to just build it the way that they want to. Because if you don't, you're never going to get a quality head coach because the head coach will never think you're going to give him a chance. And so if you miss, let's say you bring a young a head coach from college that's never coached the NFL before, and he just does not work out. Like, look at Matt Rule, right? You brought in Matt Rule. I believe he came from the college ranks. You bring in Matt Rule. It just didn't work out. The fan base is going to absolutely crucify the head coach if it's not working out because the talks of, he wasn't experienced, he didn't have enough experience, so on and so forth. You're going to be able to critique the guy so goddamn much because he doesn't have the experience that you never know if Mark Davis, a guy that lets too many people in his ear, if they start critiquing Mark Davis, here's the problem with Mark Davis. Mark Davis doesn't know enough about this game to know whether or not he's making the right decision. That's why he has screwed up so much. He's allowed too many people in his ear to influence his decision, and his final decision doesn't come with the understanding of what needs to be done to organize a proper organization, to create a proper organization. So I can't do the college head coaches, and I can't do the guys that just don't have enough experience. Because I think that we need more than that. We need more than that. Again, that's just my opinion. Let's see, Bruce. We don't need Gruden. He'll send him back 10 more years. No way. Yeah, I'm off that one. Um, let's see. LS, what's going on, brother? You're saying if they take Mendoza first overall, the first order of business should be securing that O line. I don't want a receiver at the expense of the O line. Yeah, I'm like no matter what this year, I think we go O line. No matter what, whether it's free agency, whether it's draft, if you address it enough in free agency, then you have the flexibility in the draft to do what you want, right? Then you if we end up taking Mendoza, then the second round, then maybe you go get yourself that receiver, right? If he's there. Um, and so I'm really curious as to how we handle free agency and prepare for the draft. God, if we nail free agency and we get like a damn good guard and maybe a right tackle, or let's say we get a center, right? And we get a right tackle, whatever combination. But if we address the O line properly in free agency and gives us the flexibility in the draft, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to kind of see how this draft plays out. And then maybe I can, maybe I can go get my next Jacob Parrish. You never know. Said those other running backs weren't clear cut number ones apparently. I think you're talking about like Manungai and all those. Edgar, Caleb Rogers wasn't bad. All you need a right tackle and two guards through free agency. Problem solved. Are you saying two guards? Well, Caleb Rogers is already guard. So then you would technically just need one. I think Parham's going to be gone. This ain't brain surgery. So Edgar, you can fix it fairly quickly. You can fix the O-line woes fairly quickly. It's not too far-fetched, right? Again, it depends on what offensive system wants to come in here. Are you more power run? Are you more zone run? How does our current locker room kind of mesh with that run scheme? But look, yeah, you can go get a guard. You can go get a right tackle, and you can go pay for those guys, and or even a center, a combination of the two. And it's all dependent on what your outlook is for next year. Like everybody says, when I say turn this thing around, I say let's get to maybe 7 wins. That's not too far fetched when you can move when you can build this offensive line through free agency, and maybe you can get one guy in the draft that could be a day one contributor. So it's not too far fetched. And at the same time, what happens if the next offensive coach gets a good offensive lineman, O-line coach in here, and you get yourself some of our offensive linemen that did well last year. Again, we got a JPJ. Meredith looked well in 2024. Can you get more out of him? I think if you get a good offensive line coach in here, then we'll kind of see how we can address this in free agency in the draft. But I agree, you're not too far off. If you can upgrade this offensive line and at least get a top 15 offensive line in the building, you're starting to build the foundation that you can maybe get to 7 wins. And to me, that's building the foundation. That's starting the process. So, Nugget overdose. Agree. No sense to get a QB if you're going to get him smacked around draft or free agency. QB needs protection. I still say snag Lou or Slaughter, then grab a quarterback. But remember, just remember, you can grab a quarterback this year and not start him, and you can build the foundation around him. You can build the offensive line this year and next year, and then start him the following year, right? So, like, you can still snag a quarterback. That's all dependent on, do we have the quarterback do we have the head coach of the offensive mind in this coaching staff to be able to build that. So for me, that's you can still get it. You can still get your quarterback and build the next 2 years, that foundation, and be ready year 2. Carlos, what's going on, man? Appreciate you popping in here. I love Max, but at this point, just trade the guy and let's just really rebuild. Maybe get a couple first round picks for him. Yeah, we talked about Max a little bit earlier. Trading Max for me is going to be all dependent on who the next head coach is. And for myself, like if Pete is still here, I'm maybe hanging on to Max, and because I don't think Pete, if we keep Pete, I don't think he's going to be our head coach next year. Or I'm sorry, in 2027. I think you move on from him. If we get a young offensive-minded head coach or defensive, remember, I like the Brian Flores, I like the Robert Saleh. If you get a young-minded head coach, and we're truly starting to build the foundation, and we are hitting that true reset button. Let's say a Clint Kubiak comes in and gets his quarterback, then I'd be willing to field phone calls to get more draft capital for him to continue to build. And sometimes it's not more draft capital. One thing to keep in mind, it's not just more draft capital to pick guys in the draft. It's also draft capital to trade for somebody. You don't always have to take the draft capital and just pick somebody in the draft. You could trade for an offensive lineman. One center that I really like, to be honest, and I think he's going on his last year of his contract this coming year. I think next year is a contract year for him. That center out of Miami. I'm blanking on his name. I forget. Miami has a center that's nasty. Could you ship over a third rounder and go get him? Maybe. Maybe you could do that. So by capitalize or by accumulating draft capital doesn't necessarily mean you use it in the draft. You could also acquire existing players in the NFL with draft capital. And I would be willing to stockpile it if we went with a younger head coach. But if we keep Pete, man, I think we got to keep Max around. Pete, let's get, exits this team in 2026, get a head coach in 2027, and maybe you still have some value out of Max with that contract, and then you move on from him and stockpile draft picks. And that's just my opinion. What up, James? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping in here. Kevin Lurker, what's going on, man? I thought you were in here before. I'm not sure, but I appreciate you popping in. If you didn't hear, I'm going live tomorrow for all the members. We're going to be doing a live from the tailgate, man. I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to do it next week. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Emmys, if you're okay with Mike LaFleur, then why not Brian Daboll? He was more successful than LaFleur. Only because when it goes back to my other point about ex-head coaches, right? Cliff Kingsbury. I want Brian Daboll to be further removed from his first head coaching stint. I want him to be able to learn from the mistakes that he possibly made. If he goes from one head coaching position and then just jump into the next, I don't think it gives him enough time to really learn from the mistakes that he made. And so, give him three years, maybe 4 years to go off to be an offensive coordinator somewhere else, learn from the mistakes that he made, and then give him another shot. I'm just not a fan of. I'm a fan of giving head coaches a second chance, but not right away. Not all of a sudden you're fired and bang, you just jump into the next head coaching job. You were fired for a reason, right? You just didn't find that success. And I want any head coach that was just previously fired, learn from it. Take 3 to 4 years and really understand how do you improve off the mistakes that you made. And I don't know if you can do it by just jumping back into the position. Again, just my opinion. Ernesto, I think you're saying Gruden. Gruden wants his job back. He does. Hopefully it's not here. All right. He can have a job. Hopefully it's not here. Red Pete, Mike McDaniels leaves Dolphins and is the new Vegas OC assistant head coach. I'd be cool with it. If we went defensive minded, yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing him over. I think he does a really good job of running just a very creative offense. So I wouldn't mind match him up with a Brian Daboll, match him up with the Robert Saleh. I'd be cool with it because then you know that he's going to be here for probably the next 3 years at least. And that's the only reason why I lean offense. Like if you go defensive minded head coach, you're kind of seeing what's happening with Dan Campbell. And that was going to be, and I've said this once Ben Johnson was kind of a hot topic as it related to offensive coordinators. And this is, honestly, I wasn't doing this YouTube thing when we hired on Josh McDaniels. But that's the only reason why I understood the Josh McDaniels hiring. I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it, but I understood why. Because you can get your offensive-minded head coach, match him up with the quarterback, and now you can have that tandem for the next 10 to 13, 15 years. So understood the direction. And this is why I lean more offensive-minded head coach. Because even with a defensive-minded head coach, when you finally find yourself a good offensive coordinator and that offense is rolling, guess what? The offense is rolling probably because you have a young quarterback that's meshing with the offensive coordinator. And now that offensive coordinator might get a job elsewhere. And now you have to go and hire your next offensive coordinator, teach that quarterback that next offensive scheme, and doesn't mesh well. And I think that's why I lean so hard to a young offensive-minded head coach. Because you're going to run into the same troubles, I think, Dan Campbell is running into right now, is that because he's not an offensive coordinator, now he took over the offensive play calling duties, but because he's not a true offensive coordinator or a true defensive coordinator, he's going to have a revolving door of coordinators if he continues with success, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough year over year. So that's why I 100% lean more towards offensive-minded head coach. What up, Chewy? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping in. Hope you had a good holiday, man. Guys, make sure you guys go over to Chewy's channel, man. Show some love, support over there. Let's see. I want to say, Daniel Kim in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking with us. Let's see. Edgar, you're saying playing Brendan Rice and Bo Jackson's nephew. Yeah, let's get that plan. That's why I'm really curious. Who's going to jump up from the practice squad? If these players are basically being solidified as inactive, right? If Genty has the flu and he's inactive, if Mostert's inactive, if Besh is inactive, man, let's see some of these guys on the practice squad. Chris Collier, man, I'd love to see what the kid can do. LS, the one thing I don't want to see is the Raiders outsmart themselves, worry about base hits, forget the home runs for now. Yes, let's get that number one draft pick. Let's get that number one draft pick. Chewy, watch us grab Tyree Wilson for another year, man. If we do that, I'm gonna be pouring more of these for damn sure. I'm gonna be pouring more of those. God damn, it can't happen. Hummer, good coaches can implement their system scheme. Great coaches adapt their system to whoever plays, whatever players they have that season. That's true, right? And does that equate to Super Bowls? Maybe not. I think that can create some good seasons, but at the end of the day, I think coaches need to do. They need their guys. They need their guys that will fit their system. I 100% agree that the great coaches kind of mold to what they have. 100% agree, but they also can kind of bring in guys that fit their system, and it's also establishing a coaching staff that can get the best out of those guys, right? It's the good coaches, man. I again, for you guys that don't know, like I've coached this game for 23 years, played it for 15, and coaching plays a massive role in the success of your organization, the success of your season. And I think that's why we've just been trashed this whole year, is that our coaching is not good. It's not up to par, unfortunately. Gio, appreciate you hitting that hashtag. Do you think Carson Beck will be a better quarterback than Derek Carr in the NFL? If he's available in the second, would you draft him? I wouldn't draft Carson Beck in the second. I gotta do more research after the Chiefs game. I'm doing my research. I don't know if I draft him in the second. To compare him to Derek Carr, I don't know. If you want to compare him to the best of Derek Carr, like that 2016 Derek Carr, I don't know if I can make that comparison. I just haven't seen him as much of Carson Beck. So I'm going to do a deep dive on Carson Beck. There's definitely some quarterbacks in later rounds. I want to do a deep dive. That kid from, I believe it's Oklahoma, I think that's coming out this draft. I want to do a kind of deeper dive. We're going to do that. Break his game film down as well. So, and that's the hard part about making that comparison, because I just haven't done a deep dive. on him. But I appreciate the question. I'll definitely give you an answer as I kind of roll deeper into the prospects, man. Carlos, I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's rocking with me. Do that double tap that screen. We're gonna do. Let's see. I've been on for about two and a half hours. We'll do about 30 more minutes, and we're going to answer some questions. Talk about it a little bit. Again, I don't get to do too many one-on-one lives, but man, starting last week, I took 2 weeks off of work because of the holidays, and I'm gonna be able to chop it up with you guys more. But Carlos, man, I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there for that, man. Let's pour one last drink for this half an hour, man. I appreciate y'all. James Brockmoyer. Okay, I believe that's the quarterback, right? LS, if you let me know if you want me to kind of throw that guy on the list. I will. I will write his name down right quick, just so I have him on the list. Let me know, James Brockmoyer. Again, I think that's the other quarterback. Hold up. Brockenmoyer. Okay. Cool. Got him on the list. DK, Aaron Brewer. Yes, Aaron Brewer. That's the center out of Miami, man. That's a guy that, again, he's I believe he's on the last year of his contract, and so could you trade for him? Could you bring him over, given the fact that if Mike McDaniels isn't there, maybe that next head coach wants to get some draft capital? Oh no, Brockenmoyer is the center for Miami. Are you talking about the University of Miami? Because Aaron Brewer is the one I'm talking about as a center for Miami. So are you thinking Brockenmoyer, the center for the University of Miami? I don't know. I just want to make sure. Yeah, Dolphins. Carlos, you're saying O-line through free agency, draft Mendoza, let him sit a year behind Geno, trade MAXX for a couple first rounds, draft classes deep with edge rushers. Look, if we get a young offensive-minded head coach and he likes Mendoza and goes after him, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not be opposed to it. Dave, did you mention Kevin Stefanski from the Browns? I don't want Stefanski over here at all. Again, it also kind of moves to that point that I said that a former head coach that just gets canned, gets fired, I want them to be able to have 3 years at least outside the head coaching position to kind of learn from their mistakes. But I'm not. Yeah, Stefanski's not on my list. Let me know if you like him, though. Let me know if you like him. All right, guys. Last half an hour. Let's get a little drink in. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Double tap that screen if you guys can. My next giveaway. I don't know my numbers out right now. My next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. I believe it was like 11 away. If I hit that, we're gonna do a giveaway. I'll drop a live. We'll do a giveaway. But I said it before. If we get that number one draft pick, I'm going to do another giveaway separate from that 5,500. We're going to rock out and celebrate a number one. All right. Again, just like to give back to everybody that rocks out. Hit that sub button if you want to get included in that. But yeah, we get that number one doing a giveaway. Once I hit 5,500, we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to have a little bit of fun. If you want to become a member, I'm going to do member only. I might do some member only videos, but I'm going to do a member only live tomorrow at the tailgate. J-Lot, show you guys what's going on. Become a member if you want to rock in with that. I'm going to do the same thing at the Chiefs game. If I go into the Chiefs game, which I might, if I go into the Chiefs game, I might do a live inside the stadium as well. So you guys check it out. You guys can get a part of that. But also, if you guys want us to do a film breakdown of anybody, free agents, college prospects, be a member. You can throw out your suggestions. I'll put them on the list. And I'll definitely try to prioritize it as much as I can. Again, if I throw out if you guys just give me a ton of suggestions, I'll try to do my best to get through them. Breaking down game film on free agents and college prospects is a lot of time, and just the way that I do it, it's a lot of time. Pigs. And hey, cheers to everybody. Appreciate everybody rocking. I got family coming in town here in about an hour, so want to jump on, chop it up with you guys tomorrow morning. I'll be doing a live before that members only live, 8:30 Pacific time. 8:30 Pacific time. I think it's 11:30, 8, 9, 10, 11:30 Eastern time. Just doing a pregame breakdown of our matchup, and there's some players that I think that can definitely have an opportunity to showcase themselves. We'll top into that. Any Polynesian draft prospects you're going to cover? I don't know just yet. I know that there's that BYU guard that's out there. I believe he's a Polynesian guy. The Oregon guard. I believe he's a guard. I've been kind of watching him a little bit. So I think there are a couple. I think there's a couple Polynesians that we will definitely take a look at. Man, one of my favorite guards last year was, the last two offensive linemen I wanted us to target early. I wanted Talisi Fuaga 2 years ago, but we got Brock Bowers. And then in the second round, I wanted, God, I'm blanking on his name. He was from Arizona, Jonah Salvanea. That ended up going to Miami, and Miami traded up with us to snag him. They snagged him in our spot, man. I was so pissed off. But Jonah Salvanea was my favorite guard in the second round. So, yeah, I think there are some Polynesians that we're going to break down game film. Joey, what's a typical day look like for a coach? I don't know. Look, I don't know at the college level and pro level. I've never done that. I've just started my coaching career at youth, and then I moved on to the high school level. Moved on to the high school. I coached in both California and Texas. And so I just know basically kind of the high school day. And the thing is, I could take my high school coaching days and times it by like 30 and you get college and NFL days. You know what I'm saying? And so it's tough. I could probably take a whole nother show and just give you an idea of what I think it's like. Now, I do have some people that I know of that have coached at the college level that they have explained it to me, that they have broke it down for me, and I could share that for you, but that'll be a whole nother live, man. So maybe we might do it one day. I might actually reach out to some of my buddies that I know have coached at the college level, and they might give me a little more insight as to what it looks like. I don't know anybody that's coached at the NFL level, but I do have buddies that coach at the college level, and I can reach out to them and just give a little more insight, and I can share it with you. Maybe for another live, man. Pigs, lots of O-line. Lots of O-linemen. I like the top guard and center. Daniel Kim, Brock Myers, the center for the University of Miami. Got it. Okay, hold up. Got it. Okay. I'm just going to put that down just in case any of the members want to break that guy down. Okay. Let's see. Jay in the building. What's going on, man? Where's the flag? What's going on? Iowa O-lineman or bust? I think I've seen you mention it before. You like your Iowa offensive lineman. Daniel Kim, what's my take on Lamar Jackson? Okay, so I heard it in another live that people were saying that Lamar Jackson might be on the trading block. My thing is with any quarterback position, I would more prefer that we get a young quarterback in the draft. One, obviously, less salary cap hit. You can get the 5th round option. You can build around the quarterback. You can allocate that salary cap and all the other position groups that would help that quarterback thrive. So without question, that would be my number one pathway to a quarterback, franchise quarterback, right? Lamar Jackson, look, if we were to bring him over, I think the nation, as much as it might not have been your like number one avenue like mine to get a quarterback, I wouldn't be mad at it. I'd have to know what draft capital we give up. You know, if you're giving up like 2 first rounders to go get Lamar Jackson, because you got to take on that contract. I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't know what his guaranteed money looks like. I don't know if you could restructure it in a way that's more team friendly. You know, that's definitely things that I need to. I would want to take into consideration if you bring on Lamar Jackson. You know, I think they gave him that massive contract. What was it? Maybe 3 years ago. So I don't know what his contract looks like now. But if you can restructure it and make it a favorable contract, you know, you probably have to give up 2 first rounders. At that point, I'll be real. Then you bring him over, you give up the 2 first rounders, you try to trade MAXX to bring some of those draft picks back. And obviously Lamar Jackson is going to be a pretty electric for this team. And so it wouldn't be my first choice or my second choice, but if it happened, I would hope that we could restructure his contract to be more team friendly. We'd have to trade away Max to acquire draft capital because now you're going to have to build through the draft. And I do think that he would be electric. I'm not gonna lie. I think you can't deny just the skill set he would bring to the quarterback room. So I'm not opposed to it, but it wouldn't be my first, second option on bringing a quarterback. It's almost like bringing in, like if we were to bring in one, I would rather Lamar Jackson than maybe Joe Burrow, only because of the injury concern. Like Joe Burrow is so injury prone at this point, and he couldn't, like, we'd have to. The thing about Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow is that you bring him in to start right away. Our offensive line is atrocious. So if you don't build the offensive line, and you may not have the salary cap space to build the offensive line right away, you bring in Joe Burrow, he's going to get his ass handed to him, just like he did in Cincy. And so to me, I just don't think it would make sense to bring in a Joe Burrow, give up all that draft capital, pour in all that salary cap, for him to be behind just an even worse offensive line without really much help around him. Yeah, we got Brock Bowers, but we don't have a true number one. So I would rather lean Lamar Jackson, because I don't think you'd have to give up as much draft capital. Maybe you could restructure his contract, and at the same time, he's got the legs to be able to get away from trouble. Because you'd have to start him in year one, and if you can't revamp this offensive line, you got to have a mobile quarterback back there. So that's why I would probably lean towards Lamar Jackson, but wouldn't be my first or second or maybe even third option. Yeah, unless you're concerned. See, you're almost as concerned as me drafting Jacob Parrish last year. That's almost why. Shout out to you, brother. I appreciate you throwing the memberships out. Yes, guys, I'm doing a members only live in the tailgate. Rumor has it is, if I was rocking a white shirt tomorrow. And a lot of rumors just aren't true. I'm just throwing that out there. A lot of rumors just aren't true. Good luck with that. If I did, and my wife said you rocked a white shirt without me in the presence, maybe she'd get pissed off at me. She'd lock the door. I wouldn't be able to get back in my own house. Easy, Connor McGovern, center. I have actually, I saw that guy on the free agent list. I haven't done much research on him, but yeah, definitely a guy that could be out there. Jay, you said my nephew is the starting tailback for Houston. They're playing LSU in the bowl game tonight. Would love to see him in silver and black as a kick returner and a change of pace back. Check him out, 44. All right, let's go. University of Houston, number 44 running back. Yeah, I'll check it out, man. I'll be watching the games tonight, without question. I'll be checking it out, man. Let's see. Where's the flag? You guys are talking to Bueno back and forth. Let's go, Ernesto. Coach Story, Pacifica High School, 9-0 with Beardo. Coach Story, Pacific High School, 9-0 with Beardo. Ernesto, where are you from? Is that Pacific High School or Pacifica High School? Where are you from? Let me know. I'm originally from Ventura County, if that means anything, depending on where you're from. Desert Raider, what's going on, man? Giants placing players on IR. Yes, they are. Hey, we're all tanking. The writing's on the wall at this point. LS, Nussmeyer and Aller both dropped off big time. They did. And look, if we don't nail a quarterback in the early rounds, like I still want to pick somebody at least in the fourth round. Drew Aller could be a fourth rounder that I pull the trigger on. I think he's going to drop maybe even farther. I got to do more research on all the quarterbacks that are entering the draft. He might drop even farther. And I'll tell you right now, if Drew Aller drops to like fifth and we didn't pick a quarterback early on, I without question, I'd pull the trigger. Nussmeyer might be the same one. I think Nussmeyer might go earlier than Drew Aller. Don't quote me on that again. I got to do my research. But Drew Aller was a guy that I liked last year. Yes, he got hurt, but I'll tell you right now, I hated that Penn State offensive coordinator. I hated him. I just did not think he was. I think he did more harm to Drew Aller than good because that offensive coordinator was absolute trash, in my opinion. I'm easy. Quay Walker, linebacker, Green Bay, UDFA. This offseason, 25-year-old. I know I've watched Quay Walker. We're going to definitely need to address some needs in the offseason, without question. LS, you're saying Lamar Jackson is one of the most overrated quarterbacks I've ever seen. Talented as hell, but has been given everything and still can't win. Calling him overrated, I think, is a little tough. And I only say this because you gave him a running game, right, with Derrick Henry, and that should account for something. I think that they failed to truly give him a number one receiver that kind of helps him, right? I mean, they did Rashard Bateman for a long time. Zay Jones was there. Then they bring in what's his face? My bad. Houston. Then the Chiefs. Now he's there. I'm blanking on his name. Veteran receiver. I just don't know if they did a really good job of truly giving him all the weapons to showcase what he can do. But by getting that contract, again, then you got to do stuff yourself, right? You got to be able to kind of create your own. You got to be able to kind of be the guy. And I think he showcased it with his legs and stuff. I don't know if I'd go as far as overrated, only because I just don't know if they've done enough to truly showcase or give him the weapons that they truly need. Again, yes, they gave him Derrick Henry, but man, he's never really had a top tier receiver to really let that offense reach its full potential. Now, can you make the argument that he needs to do more and he needs to be a bigger part of that offense? I won't disagree there without question. In that case, could you maybe slap that overrated label on him? You can make an argument for it. For me, I just wouldn't put that on him just yet. But that's just my opinion. Let's see. Troy, who's your top pass rusher in this year's draft? Miami. So I know a lot of people like Ruben Bain, and the more and more I watch that kid, I'm concerned at whether or not Ruben Bain's going to be able to be effective against athletic tackles in the National Football League. Like if you pick him, let's say you trade back a little bit, because Ruben Bain's probably going to go in the top 10, I would assume. You pick him at top 10, there's concerns with me that whether or not he is going to be able to be athletic enough to get to the run that's not necessarily going his way. Like to me, he just doesn't look extremely athletic. I think he's going to get stalemated by a lot of offensive tackles, athletic offensive tackles. I want to watch more of his game, but I think he's better suited, as kind of like a 3 technique inside. I think he's going to get eaten up by a lot of offensive tackles. And even when the run goes his way, he doesn't look consistently athletic enough to be able to kind of get down the line of scrimmage and get to that ball carrier and be kind of an impact player, not just when the ball goes at you, but when the ball goes the opposite way. Because that's what you want at a top 10 pick. You want someone that is going to be a beast. Max is good at that at times, a lot of times, right? But in a pure pass rush aspect, I think Ruben Bain he's going to get stalemated a lot in the National Football League against more athletic offensive tackles. That's just my opinion. But again, I got to do more research. I've only looked at probably 2 games so far. I got to do more, but that's just my initial assessment on it. Raider 1961 is never going to happen. Lamar will never be a Raider. He cannot read downfield. That could be a fair enough knock on him. Jay, you're saying Lamar gets injured a lot too. He does. He does. He does have his injuries because he's more of a running quarterback, so he does get hit a little more often. And he does go down. So yes, as much as I say, Joe Burrow is injury prone. I don't disagree. Lamar has had his fair share of injuries as well. So I don't disagree. And I appreciate you throwing that out there. Where's the flag, man? Hey, I appreciate you throwing memberships out there. Shout out to everybody that does get gifted the memberships. I appreciate you. I am doing a live tomorrow, 10:30 Pacific time. Live for members only at the tailgate. We're going to go J lot. We're going to go B lot. We're going to go Modelo zone and just kind of let you guys know what it looks like. And I'm going to do the same thing against the Kansas City game. I might go into that game and I'll do a live inside that stadium. Maybe, depending on how it works out. LS, you're saying you got to give up huge capital to get Lamar, pay him, then try and build around him. It's impossible in our situation, regardless of play. He's also got injury concerns. Yes, just like the previous comment, I 100% agree. More and more, I kind of looked at it. Yes, and you guys bringing it up. He is very, very. He's injury prone himself, unfortunately. Hummer, you're saying I can't understand trading MAXX because it might take 7, 8, 9 tries to replace him and still don't find a guy. If we're missing out on cap space, okay, ask for negotiation money or trade, but not the case. I agree in a sense that like edge rushers, they don't grow on trees. It is, and that's one of the reasons why. If I'm going to pick somebody in the top 10, there's 5 positions that I go after. It's again, number 1 receiver, because the salary cap, if you can get a number 1, it's all about getting their 5th-year option. Number 1 receiver, left tackle, quarterback, number 1 corner, edge rusher. I'm with you, man. Like edge rushers don't grow on trees. But the only reason why I would consider taking phone calls, again, I don't say trade them, but consider taking phone calls, is if we get that young offensive-minded head coach, match him up with his quarterback, so then you pick that quarterback, number 1, number 2, wherever we sit, then you trade MAXX and you acquire more draft capital to continue to build around not only this quarterback, but build the roster that this new head coach wants. That's the only time I would consider it. But I 100% agree. Like edge rushers don't grow on trees. It's one of the hardest positions to perfect. It's one of the hardest positions to find. And it's like a number 1 corner. Number 1 corners don't grow on trees. Top left tackles don't grow on trees. They're so hard to find. And when you find them, man, you just hope. You hope you can maybe get them to the draft and you're able to get that 5th-year option and save that salary cap space. It's all dependent on who our next head coach is. Where's the flag? I don't know who you got. Who all you got? Let's see. I don't know who all you got. But there's $15 Christmas things. Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you giving those memberships. I hope everybody can tap in tomorrow for that live. Just kind of give you an opportunity to, let me know if there's a spot you want me to go to. If you've been at the tailgate before, it'll give you can get in the chat. Let me know where you want to go. But man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. The Truth's Finest. What's going on, man? Appreciate you tapping in here. Man, just got a little bit longer, almost 3 hours. We're gonna rock out for just a little bit. Ernesto, okay, yeah, San Bernardino. Okay. Yeah, I'm from Ventura County. So Joey, all the Raiders, all the media crying about the Raiders tanking, but not the other teams. Well, they got to complain about something with the Raiders, right? Daniel Kim, have you watched tape on Mendoza? Not all the way through. I watched him against Ohio State, but I haven't watched additional tape on him as well. A lot of my time is actually taken up with breaking down our own game film for Wednesdays. And so once this Chiefs game is done, we'll do one more game film breakdown. Won't be too in-depth again when it comes to the Chiefs game. But then after that, I'm diving in to game film. You said, is the real deal or the best of a very average draft class? Draft tackle and then grab Drew Aller. Yeah, I'm God, I'm trying to remember the comparison that I made, but it's tough. You take a look at just how good the quarterback classes have been over the last couple of years, and this is why there's really only possibly two teams that might be quarterback needy this year. It's us, it's the Jets, and it's it may be the Cardinals, depending on what they do with and the Cardinals, depending on what they do with Kyler Murray. The Cardinals might be in the market for a quarterback. Miami might be in the market for a quarterback, but they're going to be picking a spot where they're going to have to jump up a lot to get somebody, right? And so there's not very many quarterback needy teams, and so that's going to be where it's difficult. Is if Pete's around, I don't know if I want to grab a quarterback this year. If Pete's around, I want us to be able to grab a player that is going to be able to withstand a regime change, which I think will happen at the end of 2026 if Pete is still here. Again, that's a number one receiver. That's a right tackle. It's an edge rusher, stuff like that. That's what I would want to go after. But I'll definitely let you know. I'm going to break it down, but I'm going to do it live so that you guys can kind of give the feedback, because I know there's a lot of people that love Mendoza. There's a lot of people that love Deontay Moore as well. Choose finest. One thing, we may have to place Crosby on IR, not just for the tank, but we don't want him damaged further if we decide to trade him in the offseason. So one thing that I mentioned is that if it's true that he has to go and get surgery, that's going to hurt our trade capital. Like that's going to hurt our ability to get the top trade capital from him. And that's my biggest concern. And man, if this has been something that has been lingering, Max, and I say the same thing about Brock. If this has been lingering these guys for the last couple weeks, or at least throughout the season, in week 13 we were officially eliminated from the playoffs, and you let these guys continue to play a couple more weeks to continue to potentially damage those injuries. To me, I feel like it was a horrible decision by these coaches to not just cut them right then and there. Just shut them down. Do not risk further injury. But this is kind of where we stand. But Max Crosby's pissed, and we'll see just if the reports are true. Aller probably has a better ceiling than AOC. Why not that late? I'd take Drew Aller. If he's around in the fourth, maybe fifth round, I'd take him in a heartbeat. If we didn't address the quarterback position early on, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Ernesto played a little football with Ryan Neese at Pacific High School. Coach Kingfish. Oh, cool. Good deal, man. LS, you like Quay Walker? I do too. I like Quay Walker as well. I like his game, without question. So it'll be interesting to see just kind of who we potentially target moving forward. Bueno, Zay Flowers was mid this season. Yeah, and he's that number one. DeAndre Hopkins. That's what I'm talking about. DeAndre Hopkins, went over there. And so, yeah, Zay Flowers is not only did he struggle a little bit this year, and it could be the fact that, Lamar Jackson struggled to get him the ball. I really don't know. But, man, Zay Flowers just caused turnovers, fumbled the football in just crucial moments. That's kind of been his MO, which is so tough. But we'll kind of see how the offseason plays out. Where's the flag? In all reality, we've stuck in the cold for 30 years. Lamar would be a gigantic upgrade. And shit, if we got home field advantage in the playoffs with Lamar quarterback, that's Super Bowl, baby. I like the confidence. Our team still sucks, though. We need a lot. We do. LS, Lamar has had everything with the exception of true number one receiver. He's got coaching stability, O-line, great defense, very good tight ends, great run game. I could give him a damn about his MVPs. I want Super Bowls. No, I agree, and I think that's why everything outside of a number one, right? He has gotten in. That's why I think they've gotten them so far in the playoffs, fairly consistently as years have gone on. But I agree. At a certain point, you pay him that contract, he's got to be that deciding factor, right? So, um, there is an argument to be had with you calling him, overrated because of everything that he has been provided. So when I'm not going to argue that fact. To me, it's just tough, man. God, not giving him just a true. They tried to give him a true number one, and I think if he did have a true number one, then maybe that would be the reason why they go to the Super Bowl. But with that contract he has and stability, yeah, he's got to do a lot on his own. I do agree. Dallas Ruben over Arval Reese all day. I gotta look at more with Arval Reese. I have not been able to watch him, so I'll definitely take a look at him because we have linebacker needs. Maybe we'll definitely take him. But Arval Reese, off ball linebacker, I believe Ohio State. It's going to be hard pressed. I got to watch him. It's going to be hard pressed to believe that he's going to look better than that Jacob Rodriguez kid out of Texas Tech. But I do watch at least 7 games. I look at competition. I want to know, obviously, with Arval Reese is going to be playing probably better competition as a whole at Ohio State than Jacob Rodriguez at Texas Tech. So I definitely want to take a look at at least 7 games against good competition and just kind of compare the two, because what I'm seeing out of Jacob Rodriguez, man, I would be stoked if that kid was on this squad again at a certain draft pick. But I'll definitely take a look more at Arval Reese. That means I like Keldrick Falk better than Ruben Bain Jr. Okay, I'll look up that name, check that guy out. Lamar Relative Powers is easy money. We'll see. Lamar is Justin Fields with talent, man. I don't look. That's where I was wrong. Okay, I kind of take that 80-20 rule when it comes to my assessment, and I do a lot of research with my assessment, right? A lot of people like Mason Graham. I wasn't a big fan of Mason Graham based on what I was seeing on his game film when he was over with Michigan. But a lot of people thought he was just going to be a dominant interior D tackle. They were just extremely high on him. But the more and more I looked at him, and I watched 7 games, I think it was actually only 6 because that's all I could get a hold of. I had a lot of question marks. And again, that's all based on picking him at number 6, picking him at that value, right? And I thought him going to Cleveland was going to be an even better position for him to find success, because now you're going. That's a good defensive front out there. You got Myles Garrett that's going to take on the double team, even sometimes a triple team. Like, you're going to make sure that Myles Garrett is double and triple teamed every single play, which would allow Mason Graham to kind of have those one-on-ones. So I think it kind of set up the stage for him to find some pretty good success in the National Football League. But he still has just been, based on what I've seen, I've gotten one thing that I do is I don't just go back and watch the guys that I was high on and whether or not they did good. I also go back and I watch guys that weren't as good, guys that people thought were going to be good, and I had some concerns. I go back and I look, okay, was I right or was I wrong? If I was wrong, why was I wrong? If I was right, then it just helps with my assessment, right? But I think, based on what I'm hearing, based on going back and watching, probably I once have watched about 4 games of Mason Graham. He's just been kind of underwhelming at this point. Now, could he grow as a rookie? Could he continue to improve without question, right? You got to give, rookies at least 3 years to really understand who they are. But so far, it looks like he's been kind of underwhelming because he is getting those one-on-ones over in Cleveland. A lot of the attention is going to Myles Garrett. And so, a lot of people did not like my take on Mason Graham, but it does look like, he's just underwhelming at this point. But we'll see kind of how it plays out. But where I was wrong, sorry to go back to what I was talking about, where I was wrong, I thought Justin Fields was going to be a good quarterback. I thought he was going to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. I thought he had the toughness, the arm to make any throw. He was mobile enough to be a quarterback that can run, not a running, not a runner that's a quarterback. It just does. When we brought on Luke Getsy, I went back to go watch Luke Getsy's offense. And I watched 7 games of Luke Getsy's offense the year that we brought him on. And I was watching Justin Fields, and I'm sitting there going, holy crap. Justin Fields is just crazy inaccurate. And I wasn't sure. I didn't see that at Ohio State, and obviously coaching has a lot to do with it. The organization that you play for has a lot to do with it, especially at the quarterback position, just how you build around the quarterback, the weapons that you give them. A lot of people weren't a fan of Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator, and that was his offensive coordinator. So how much does Luke Getsy play a role in that? But Justin Fields looked so inaccurate. I basically, after watching those 7 games, I basically called him he's the third down killer. And third down, the receiver could be wide open, and he just completely overthrows, underthrows. It's horrible. And so, but for all that to say, I think I was wrong about Justin Fields. But I kind of take that 80-20 rule. I think the majority of my assessments are fairly accurate. But yeah. To call Justin Fields or put Lamar and Justin Fields in the same grouping, I think is a little tough. Lamar, I think, is a lot better than Justin Fields. Yeah. Joe Burrow's take 200 sacks. Yes, he has. He's taken a lot of sacks without question. Raiders Central still popping with us, man. I appreciate you, man, guys. I think Raiders News Central. I think you have a channel. I believe you have a channel. If you do, guys, go check out Raiders News channel. Show some support over there. I believe he's got a channel. I could be wrong, but if you're out there, anybody that's doing Raider content, man, shout out to you. Definitely go check out Jeff, Leo, Cheeto Linus, LV Raider Nate, my guys Severe, as well as Chris Fisher podcast, Jay Raider, man. Anytime you guys can get guys that just go out there and just give the opinion. You could agree or disagree, but it's good to kind of get different perspective at times. Definitely go check out Rundown as well, man. He's always rocking out there. Chokers are in playoff form tonight. I hope so, because I'll tell you, I'm in the championship for my fantasy league. So I'm in the championship. I think I'm going against Herbert. So maybe Herbert can slow it down today. Herbert can slow it down for sure. Where's the flag? Lamar with Bowers is the scariest thing I can imagine on third and anything. Maybe, and look, you could run some RPOs with Genty. I'm not going to lie. You guys know how I feel about Genty, but you throw Lamar with some RPOs with Genty, maybe that could work. Take a little bit of pressure off of Genty, where linebackers now have to basically account for 2 runners. Again, I'm not a fan of quarterbacks running all the time, but just to be able to throw that out there could be pretty deadly. So we'll see. You're saying Whit from LSU later rounds, throwing some names out there. I appreciate it. Was a flag, man. I appreciate you. All right, guys. Look, I've been on for 2 hours. I'm sorry. Shit, I've been on for 3 hours. I got family coming to town. I got to jump off of here. I appreciate everybody. That's for rocking with me. Sherbert has 19, sacked 5 times. If that's true, I'm looking pretty good so far. Yeah, in the championship this weekend. Shout out to, sometimes he comes on here. It's John. I think he's 808 Raider from Hawaii. Him and I, we're battling. We're battling for the championship this week. It's going to be fun, man. But guys, make sure you guys go hit up Jeff. I think I mentioned you. Go hit up Jeff's channel as well. Also, Jason Downs and Donuts Duncan. Guys, go hit them up as well. But I appreciate you guys. Want to jump on here? Tap in with me tomorrow morning, 8:30. I'm going to be down the street from Legion Stadium. I grab myself a pitcher. I go live. We're going to chop it up about our matchup against the Giants, how they are, some players are sitting as well, but at the same time, we got our players that are sitting, but I think there's players that can potentially pad their stats. They can try to showcase to potentially get a contract either with us or next team. Again, one guy is Charles Snowden. Max Crosby's down. Charles Snowden, get in, get your opportunity. Showcase what you can do for this week as well as next week. We're going to chop it up tomorrow, 8:30 Pacific time. And then right after that, for all the members, I'm doing a members only live at the Allegiant Stadium tailgate. So the Raiders tailgate, we're going to be rocking out. Members only. Shout out to all my members. Shout out to the super chats. Where's the flag? You gifted some memberships. I think Jeff, you gifted some memberships. My last live. I appreciate y'all. You know, make sure 10:30 Pacific time. I'll go live again. It's my first time doing it, so hopefully the Wi-Fi is good. Hopefully the connection's good. If not, I will just stop. I'll record it. I'll drop it as a members only live. I'll see if I can correct the issue, and then I will do it for the Chiefs game as well. And if I go into the Chiefs game at Allegiant, then I might go live in there as well. Show you guys the stadium and do all that stuff. So I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you rocking out. Definitely double tap that screen. Also, Sunday night, 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern. We'll do a post-game recap in the Raider War Room with my guys, The Severe Raider, as well as Chris Flick Show Podcast. We're going to just give you guys our take on the game and have a little bit of fun. So appreciate y'all, man. GeoMax, appreciate y'all. Yvette, appreciate you popping in. I'm just getting out of here, but I will be going live a couple times tomorrow, so definitely check it out for that. Jeff, you're going live for the game tomorrow, not going to the watch party. Shitty weather here. Yeah, so it's supposed to be great weather here, but we've been getting some rainstorms. I think it's going to be clear, but we'll see just kind of how it works out, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But if I come back for the game, man, I'll definitely tap into your live because, yeah, it'll be fun. I do too much rewinding to go live, so I'm not sure if I could be able to do it. Maybe I'll do it. If I don't go to the Chiefs game, maybe either I'll go live or I'll jump in if anybody's going live for the Chiefs game because that one, not a whole lot to kind of pay attention to. Nothing that I can't go back and just rewind and see. So, Frank Weber, appreciate you. Jeff, yeah, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being a member. Appreciate all the members, LS, all you guys. Appreciate you guys, the super chats, everybody gifting out memberships. If you guys want to throw out suggestions on players that we're going to break down the offseason, free agents, or draft prospects, become a member. You can throw out those suggestions. We'll definitely tap into it. So, Hummer, I'm going tomorrow with my son and his friend. They're both are Giants fans and cheering for the Tank. Okay, man. Hey, let me know if you and J-Lot, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at J-Lot. I'm going to start out at 10:30 at J-Lot, and then I'm going to work my way to probably B-Lot, then the Modelo Zone, and then I'm going to go back to J-Lot. So if you're going to be out there, man, hit me up. It'd be good to put a name to face, man. I will most likely walk through, but I'll definitely be with my guy. He's in the middle of J-Lot. If you're walking down J-Lot on the street side, he basically has a bar. He just takes donations. So I'll get a couple 805s from him, give him about $40, man, show some love. Definitely hit that guy up, man. So appreciate y'all, man. Hit me up. Yaya, appreciate you guys. Look, just want to jump on here. Appreciate, again, the members, the super chats, everybody subscribing. Once I hit 5,500 subscribers, not sure if I hit it, but once I did, I'm going to drop a giveaway. But at the same time, if we get that number one draft pick after that KC game, if we stick with that number one draft pick, I'm going to hit you guys with another giveaway separate from the 5,500. Just my way of showing my appreciation and saying thank you. So appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Tap it with me tomorrow morning. And members, definitely 10:30 Pacific time tomorrow. Tailgate. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Appreciate y'all. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here.